parent, the teacher, and what? Only one person in mom's group. Okay, thank you. Look what my daughter just sent me. That's what we looked at what she said. I should say you're my favorite daughter of the month. There you go. Okay. All right, we're going to call this meeting of the Madison County Board of Education. We're going to call it to order. Today is August the 13th, 2020, 6 p.m. The next thing on our agenda is our vision statement. Mr. Rutherford, would you care to read our vision statement for us?
Madison County Schools, in partnership with the community, strives to equip educators and students with the skills to lead by example, develop and speak with a unique voice, and explore their academic curiosity to make a positive impact on our community and world.
Thank you. Before we move on any further, I say this every month, but I want to remind everyone, there's agendas in the back. You should have received them when you walked in. Hopefully you hand sanitized as well. We have had those for many days, I should say. So we've had our opportunity to look over them, ask lots of questions. I'm sure we'll have plenty of extra questions tonight. But just so you know, if we don't ask a question, please don't think that we're not concerned, because we've had them and have already got with Mr. Woods or Dr. Gillum. So moving on to our agenda of number 3, audience comments regarding our agenda items. Jeannie, do we have anyone that has turned in their forms?
2 parents, a group of moms, and a teacher.
And one more?
And it doesn't say.
Okay. So who would like to go first? All right, wonderful. Come on up. Please introduce yourself. Tell us if you're a parent or a teacher.
Can I take this off while I'm here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Please
great.
do. And please know that we have a 5-minute time limit.
Yes.
I don't want to be disrespectful
No,
and
I
cut you
should
off.
be
so.
fine, except I'm nervous, so hopefully I'll be fine.
You're going to be great. You're going to be fine.
So my name is Annmarie Wambold. I live in Richmond, Kentucky. I'm a mother of 2. Hey, you're supposed to be up here. That's supposed to be my sidekick over there. First of all, I want to thank you for all you do. Being on the board is a big job and often a thankless one. You make tough decisions, and I know this is one of them regarding going back to school. But please know we parents have your back. Our kids need to go back to school in person on August 26th. With all due respect, digital learning does not engage children as does classroom instruction. In the classroom, teachers provide crucial guidance, assistance, and motivation. In person, it's much easier to recognize those who may fall behind and those who may need more challenges to move ahead. Students thrive when they're together. They challenge, inspire, learn from each other, and even assist their peers. Not to mention they lift each other's spirits with laughter and friendship. The CDC says, quote, "Extended school closure is harmful to children. It can lead to severe learning loss. The harms attributed to closed schools on the social, emotional, and behavioral health, economic well-being, and academic achievement of children in both the short and long term are well known and significant," end quote. We are concerned for our kids. The virus is real and we don't want them to get it. But we cannot let the cure be worse than the virus itself. We need to be extremely concerned about the long-term effects cited by the CDC. It's been 5 months and we are already seeing these effects. Kids crying because they miss their friends, their loving teachers. They're losing socialization skills, how to talk with other children, make up games. Electronics are babysitting our older kids. Very young children cannot be left alone all day, so it's a great financial strain on the parents. Quit your job or pay for expensive childcare. If you can get childcare, many places have extended wait lists. Worse yet, leave your young children home alone, which is extremely dangerous, and you know it's happening. The kids can't continue to miss out on counseling and special needs services. It has been cited that reports of child abuse typically identified by the schools have declined dramatically since schools have shut down. The classroom provides safety and security for countless children in our county. I hope we don't make important decisions due to fear of bureaucrats such as the Kentucky Department of Education threatening consequences if we allow our children to return to school at the end of this month. How long are we going to let government executives isolate our children, deny them an education, and damage their well-being? You gave us the perfect solution to all this. We parents can choose if we want to send our kids back to school. Please don't take away the choice of in-person school on August 26th. Please let them come back. They can't wait. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, who'd like to go next? All right, come on up, please. Please state your name for the record. Please tell us if you're an employee of our school district.
My name is Dustin Bustler. I'm a special education teacher at Madison Southern High School. First off, I'd like to thank Dr. Gillum and the Madison County Board of Education for giving me the opportunity to come and share and explain what I know a silent majority of our teachers, parents, and stakeholders feel in regards to opening the 2021 school year. First off, let me give you a little bit of history of my history with the Madison County schools. I've been a part of Madison County since the Madison County school system since 1986 in Barbara Rogers' kindergarten class. At 15 years old, I was working summer maintenance with Danny King, waxing floors and mowing grass. And I'm a proud 1999 graduate of Madison Southern High School as well. Tonight I want to speak on behalf of Madison County students, parents, and other stakeholders. I know the planning that has gone into opening schools, and you guys are doing it the best way you know how. Are there concerns? Is there nervousness? Is there fear of the unknown? Absolutely. But I feel like the board and the administration have given 3 solid options to return to school. I know you guys are probably aware of what I'm about to say, but this goes beyond education and academics. Education is different in the year 2020 than what it was in 1990 or even the year 2000 or 2010. What about the neglected kids at home? What about the kids who need daily encouragement and love? What about the kid whose only reason to show up and participate at school is to play sports or be a part of a club or a team? What about the kid whose parents struggle to make ends meet and working every day? Are they supposed to have another debt to cover child care? Are they supposed to leave their child at home unsupervised? And what about the kid, and I'll even take it a step further, what about the kids whose parents won't take them to church or other religious activities when we have things like FCA, First Priority, and other clubs at school? Our school system is so much more now than reading, writing, and arithmetic. And all I hear from a lot of groups and their representatives is talking about how dangerous it is for teachers and students to be in school. It's my opinion and many others working, at least at Madison Southern High School, of how dangerous it is not to be in school. This is why I chose the profession. And in many ways, the profession did not, I didn't choose this profession. I feel like in many ways it chose me. So how about we flip the question? How dangerous is it for these kids to not be in school? I have no doubt you've already heard similar arguments, but I wanted to share what many others, students, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders are feeling. I was told by Phyllis Lathrop, my junior English teacher. She didn't come up with this saying, but she was the first one I remember saying it, and it is, the toughest thing on earth to do is the right thing. And I feel like coming back to school in whatever option we choose is the right thing. A student may get sick, a teacher may get sick, and it could spread, but I put my trust in the Lord and the administrators of this district to do the right thing, and they've been working on this since March. Their well-being of being loved, encouraged, and yes, educated should be our first priority. And the best way for that to happen is for them to see us face-to-face in a classroom setting if they so choose. I've heard every district administrator say, and I agree, that we now have many students with academic gaps, and they have to overcome when we return to personal learning. Are we willing to further that gap based on a recommendation? Again, I thank Dr. Gillum, I thank the Board of Education, and all the administrators for the planning, the options, and most importantly, the care that goes on in this district and all of our schools. But most importantly, I thank you for listening to the concerns of a quiet majority that do not want to stay quiet any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who would like to go next? Come on up. Please state your name for the record and let us know if you're an employee of the district.
I'm not an employee. I'm Frank Little. I'm a parent. My kids go to Kirksville. I just wanted to come up here tonight and echo what we've already heard to show y'all our support. Dr. Gillum, I've never met you before. I know your predecessor very well, and I've never heard anything but high praise for you. You're the man for the job, and I think everybody in the county knows that. You school board members, you were voted in. You're obviously the ones that we want sitting in those chairs. And I just wanted somebody to come up and tell you all that you have the full support of the county. There's a few people that want one way and a few other way, and I don't know the answers. Y'all are the ones that know what is best for our school district. And I hope you will stand by what you know, stand by what you want to see our kids go. And I just wanted to come up and say we thank you for your job. You're not thanked enough, and we support you. So.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Please state your name, and if you're a district employee, please.
My name is Duane Curry, and I'm not an employee of the school district, but I have one child and 6 grandchildren that's enrolled in the county school system, and I can tell you nobody wants what's best and safest for their children more than any parent. That's what we want. I can tell you from my standpoint, I'm as passionate about my children returning to in-school learning as anything. I think that's the best place for them. I think their learning is better achieved there. Distance learning has been proven it's not as effective as in-person learning. And I too just wanted to be one of the parents that came up to be a voice that you heard. And I want to echo the fact that we have, I can tell you, our family's a large family. We're 7 generations in this county, and I can tell you we have the utmost confidence in this school board, your actions and your decisions, probably than ever before. And I believe you'll make the right decision. We just want to encourage you that way and let you know we're behind you, we're praying for you. We know these are tough decisions, and we want what's best for the children, but we believe in-person learning is the best way to go. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Who would like to go next, please?
Good evening. My name is Erika Marlar, and I am a parent of 3 children. I am also a frontline healthcare worker, and I have concerns as a frontline healthcare worker how to parent and educate my child when I am battling this virus on a day-to-day basis. It's my understanding that we've purchased a Zoom license, and there's talks of restructuring the virtual learning process. As a parent of 3 children, 1 in elementary, 1 in middle, and 1 in high school, and working full-time battling the virus in the healthcare environment, it is very difficult as a parent to come home or even try to follow a virtual learning process when teachers, and I love teachers, I think they are really good for our kids. I think they do an amazing job, so this is not a moment to bash our teachers whatsoever. Our teachers are not available to healthcare workers When we are working 8, 10, 12-hour shifts, we come home and we're trying to do this virtual learning with our children, and we're trying to educate and help get them through their homework assignments. And we don't have the option to call and pick up the phone or talk to the teacher or see the teacher and say, we don't understand as a parent what that assignment is. How are we supposed to help our children get through the school year, get through their assignments, when we don't have those resources available to us, when we're battling the same virus that you all are very concerned about? My question to the board is, if and when we go back to virtual learning and we don't go to in-person, which I am a huge proponent of in-person learning, but if we don't go to that, what kind of accommodations, what kind of processes, what kind of systems do we have in place? Or are we going to look at to help those parents who are healthcare workers, who are battling the virus on the front lines, who don't have the ability to be home with their children from 8 to 4? Are we going to look at options for those parents that virtual learning and teachers and virtual instruction is going to be available, maybe say from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock, to help those parents who are in those situations? Because it's hard enough as a healthcare employee to find someone to watch your children. You know, daycares are booked, and we were very fortunate to have daycares that stayed open through this pandemic initially to help us remain on those front lines. But it is still a challenge for us healthcare workers today to be available for our children if we are looking at virtual learning. It is really coming down to a lot of healthcare workers deciding, do I quit my job? Do I quit my passion and my motivation to help care for people, to take care of our children? And we're really being forced to choose our children's health and well-being, our family's health and well-being, or giving up on what we went to school for and the love of helping others. It's a really small line. So I ask that you really do consider in-person learning. I feel it is the best for our children. I feel it is the best for healthcare workers as parents. And I feel our children need that social and emotional and behavioral structure that is provided in the school system and by our wonderful teaching staff at the county.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who would like to go next, please?
My name is Leslie Hamilton. I'm just a parent, but I also grew up in Madison County Schools. My dad is a retired teacher. They were my family. I have the utmost respect for teachers. I do think that they are one of the most important and underrated people possible. But I gotta tell you a little backstory here. When all of this started, when COVID started, when everything, my children got their life turned upside down. Sorry. Their father and I, of 12 years, are getting a divorce. My 11-year-old and my 7-year-old went to school, and that was the only thing they had. The teachers, the counselors, and then it was gone. So this entire summer, my kids have struggled emotionally, educationally, mentally, with everything, because the stable part that they had in those teachers, those counselors, their friends are gone. So when they started talking about school starting back in person, I watched my 11-year-old begin to smile again, begin to think, I'm going to have a life, I'm going to have friends, I'm going to have these other adults in my life. And then when it was recommended to not start school on the 28th, I watched my 11-year-old regress. She's going to be a 6-year-old, or 6th grader at Clark Morris this year. She's never went to school in Richmond, so her entire life was upside down. She begged me to come tonight. Please tell them how badly I need this. Please tell them that this is so important, not just because I want to learn, but because I need them. I need friends. I need my counselors. I need my teachers. I am 100% behind anything that you guys choose, but I'm coming to you as a parent who's watched their child struggle. My 7-year-old has a lot of problems when it comes to learning. She's got ADHD, she can't sit still, and it was a struggle to get that NTI work done. We got it done. I fear going into 2nd grade for her is going to be a struggle. And I'm sorry for anybody that gets through at Waco, and I'm sorry for that. But I want you guys to know that I think that our plan that we had, I don't want us to be scared. I don't want us to say, oh, there's going to be consequences. We are a community. I grew up here. I know what we can do, and I know that this plan that we had in action can work, and that you guys have all the support that you can possibly get from me and from most of the parents in Madison County. Those 3 options are the best things, and I hope that you guys stick to them and that we do get to go back to school for me and for all the other kids who need it for their mental, educational, and emotional stability. Thank you guys for offering all of that to us, and I hope you do highly consider the in-school, back in-person school.
Thank you. All right, who would like to go next? Okay.
My name is Michelle Lyons. I'm a parent. I'm here to speak on behalf of my 6-year-old daughter, Dale Lyons. She will be starting school at Daniel Boone, hopefully on the 28th or 26th or whatever day we're doing now. My child is part of special education. She has been ever since preschool. She was there for behavioral and social interaction. She's a military child. Her father deployed, so all she had was me. I've seen my child regress over the summer and during virtual learning, or whatever you want to call it. Right before COVID started and school shut down, I had a meeting with her teacher, her special education teacher, and her speech therapist, and they were telling me how great she was doing. My child was learning the alphabet, how to write, and her sight words. My child can barely recognize letters in the alphabet. She's supposed to start 1st grade. She knows 3 out of, I think it's 30 sight words. My child every day asks me, how many more days until school starts? During virtual learning, I had to meet with her speech therapist once a week. My daughter has problems pronouncing things with the word L, or words with L in it. I would watch the speech therapist do the Zoom meetings with my child, telling my child, great job, good job, and so on and so forth. She wasn't doing a great job. She wasn't doing a good job. The speech therapist could not hear her say "dewa." I could. So virtual learning is not nearly as good as in public, in the class. And I understand parents are afraid of this, but personally I think it's blown out of proportion. I really do. I've had people at UK ICU, a nurse, tell me that as long as you take care of yourself the way you're supposed to, it's as bad as the flu. He may be right, he may be wrong, I don't know. But take fevers or take temperatures every day. Make the kids wear masks, social distancing. That's a start, at least. See how it goes. Do school for a month or 2. If COVID rates increase in schools or children start getting sick, do virtual learning. We won't know until we try. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Who's next, please? I know I have a couple more forms, so okay, come on up, please. State your name, and if you're a teacher or a student.
Hello, my name is Logan, and I am a 7th grader. I want to go back to school, and most of my friends do. My mom is a nurse and is gone the majority of the day working. I want to be out, have my routine, and talk to people my age. I don't think leaving us at home to learn on our own is the answer. NTI work felt more like busy work and not learning new things. Thank you for what you're doing to get us back to school.
That's hard to follow. Who would like to go next? Great job, young man. Is there anybody left? Okay. If there's no one else, then we will move on to number 4 on our consent agenda. These are items to be approved on the consent agenda. The minutes of the July 9th regular meeting and the August 4th special meeting. Our claims, the record of the superintendent's personnel actions, leave of absence, the review of Title IX sexual harassment procedures, 03.1621, AP.2, 03.2621, AP.2, 09.42811, AP-1 or .1. These are a lot of numbers. Bear with me. 09.42811, AP.11, 09.42811, AP.21. All right, so I think the deputy superintendent, he will talk about that more later to come. Not right now. He was coming up. So I think you're going to talk about this later in the agenda. We'll move on. All right, so all those on the consent agenda, are there any questions for anyone? Please don't make me read all those numbers. That was a joke. No one's laughing. All right. Then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, the motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford, a second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries. Moving on to number 5 on the agenda. 5A is to approve the district funding assurances. Dr. Gillum, would you like to speak on that?
Sure. The district funding assurances is just simply the list of things sent to us by the Kentucky Department of Education. It's all of the things that we have to assure them of that we will comply with in order for us to receive the funding, either that's federal funding or state funding or whatever. This is an annual review. We just have to sign off and say we've seen those and we're aware of them. So,
Are there any questions? All right, then I need a motion to approve the assurances listed in the Kentucky Department of Education District Assurances document as presented.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Cobb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries. Moving on to 5B. To consider the superintendent's recommendation concerning the start of the school year. Dr. Gillum.
thank you. Certainly very compelling testimonies there. I certainly appreciate those, and I know the board does as well. Under state law, local public school superintendents in Kentucky are explicitly described as the professional advisor to the board in all matters. In addition, local boards of education have the specific duty to promote the general health and welfare of pupils. As superintendent, I take these responsibilities seriously, and I carry them out thoughtfully and solemnly. I know the board shares the same sense of duty, responsibility, and care for the Madison County community. Over the past few months, my dedicated staff of administrators and support personnel have collectively spent thousands of hours designing a plan for the coming year to prepare our schools for any situation conceivable for the 2020-2021 school year. At the center of that plan, at the heart of that plan, is the return of students to their buildings for in-person instruction. That instruction is so valuable to our students and to our families and to our teachers. We have worked tirelessly during this tumultuous time to prepare facilities, adopt and amend policies, alter educational practices, alter operational practices, and made budgetary adjustments for additional resources for the sole purpose of making absolutely certain that a return to in-person school would be conducted in the safest and most productive environment, while still offering families options for instruction at home. We have been immersed in data from local, state, and national health organizations, and we have worked through guidance from the Kentucky Department of Education, the Center for Disease Controls, and the Kentucky Department of Public Health that has been complex, it has been rapidly changing, and at times conflicting. And we've put in place practices designed to protect students and to protect staff while at school. We are fully prepared and have been looking forward to this landmark event, Opening Day 2020. We've been looking forward to it with enthusiasm and with resolve. And we know that our broader community is very supportive of an in-person return to school, as well as the strongest indicator of this being that 70% of our families registered their child for in-person classes. We understand that there are risks involved. These families understand there are risks involved. But we are confident that we have taken every possible step to protect our students and staff from unreasonable risk of COVID infection in a school environment. Many health professionals and public health agencies have encouraged proceeding with in-person school operations. The CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics have advocated for a return to in-person school and have noted as professional medical advice from these highly respected health agencies that the known damage done to children deprived of an in-person school outweighs, and in most cases, the possible damage that might be done by COVID-19. Understandably then, it is disheartening for us to hear the recommendation from the governor this week that we postpone in-person learning until September 28th. After spending weeks focusing almost exclusively on a safe opening of schools, that provided choices for our Madison County families, all of our preparation and desire to return was halted in an instant. Even more confusing is that we see private schools going forward with opening. And as the people entrusted with the delivering of educational services to 12,000 students in our district, and as well providing for the safety of their families and the safety of the 2,000 individuals employed to serve them, we are now left with what is perhaps the most difficult choice that we have faced in our time of service. That is, whether to comply with the recommendation of state officials to delay the start of in-person school and begin virtually, or to open our doors for traditional student attendance. Quite simply, it is a decision that offers no solution that will fully address the serious and competing interests we are trying to balance. While the call to start live schooling on September 28th is put forth as a recommendation, it is really much more. We were told earlier this week that failure to comply will draw immediate and intense scrutiny and intervention from state officials. This afternoon, upon the awareness of the Madison County Board of Education's strong desire to have students attend in-person instruction for the coming year, and in disclosure of our public notification that this item was on our board agenda for consideration tonight, we received a subsequent request from the Kentucky Department of Education for an urgent meeting to discuss this matter. We graciously complied with the department's request, and this afternoon, I, along with Board Chairman Samantha Burford and Vice Chair Lori Cobb and our Board Attorney Jerry Gilbert, met with Commissioner Brown. We met with Kentucky Board of Education Chair Lou Young, the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Public Health, Dr. Connie White, and the KDE Legal Counsel team. After that meeting, and in consultation with our Board Attorney, it was clear the recommendation that must be made. The governor's recommendation to delay an in-person start was founded on 4 critical elements: the rise of COVID-19 positivity rate in the general population; second, the 40% rise of COVID-19 cases in children; third, the current experience of other states with high spread in schools that have opened; and fourth, in the expectation that many families will continue to travel out of state to areas with high COVID spread and return to the start of school. Furthermore, Dr. Connie White, Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Health, noted that cases in Madison County are on the rise, They are significant in comparison to other counties, and we are identified as a county with community-wide spread. With the evidence of these elements, combined with the broad authority given to the Kentucky Board of Education and local state health officials, and the governor's authority to issue a statewide executive order, create a likely scenario that any attempt to begin in-person instruction prior to September 28th could be interrupted by one of these agencies. It is without question that a live start brought to a sudden halt by the order of an outside agency would compound an already complex and unsettled situation. The disruption to our students, to our families, to our teachers, and to our community of this abrupt intervention could and would create undue harm to those we are entrusted to protect. Therefore, we must make a judicious decision, not an emotional one. A decision that will allow us to move forward with clarity and stability rather than one that will disrupt our students, teachers, families for the next 7 weeks. Therefore, it is my recommendation, regretful recommendation, that we delay our first day for students to Wednesday, September 2nd, and begin instruction on that day utilizing our all-virtual contingency plan. I assure you that our Madison County teachers are fully ready to provide the best virtual learning environment possible for our students between September 2nd and September 25th, and we will focus our full effort on welcoming our students who requested in-person learning back into our buildings on September 28th.
Thank you, Dr. Gillum. I know it was difficult for you to say, and it's difficult for us to hear.
Yes.
It is emotional. Do we have questions?
I don't have questions. I'd like to make a statement. First, I'd like to read a couple of emails that I received over the last couple of weeks. The first one is from a teacher. She said, "Good afternoon." And also, this teacher also emailed me today to confirm that she stood by her email from August the 7th. I wanted to reach out to each of you and share my personal thoughts on returning to in-person school. I am an MCEA member and a veteran teacher. As of today, August 7th, 2020, I fully support the decision for Madison County Schools to return to in-person instruction on August the 26th, 2020. I strongly feel that the measures that have been proposed for my school and Madison County schools in general will keep us safe. I am not naive enough to think we will be exempt from cases occurring, but I do not believe returning to in-person classes will be catastrophic. I understand those with compromised immune systems themselves or in their household are more concerned. I feel for them, I really do. However, I feel if we follow the procedures put in place, we can maintain a relatively safe environment for our staff and students, at least as safe as all the public places that have been open the entire time. I honestly don't see our risk any greater than many of the employees who work at restaurants, grocery stores, or other places that have been open for some time. I know many high-risk folks in other professions who have reported to work so they could earn their pay. We are no different, in my opinion. I know the decision to go or not go is something that all of you are constantly struggling with. My opinion may change if positive cases spike much higher than they have been. I have faith that you will make the decision that you feel is best for our staff and students. Thank you.
Are all of your emails similar, or?
Now, this is from a parent.
Okay.
I wanted to give two different perspectives, one from a staff and one from a parent. This one I received this morning. Good morning, y'all. My name is Amber Freeman, and I have two kiddos at Silver Creek Elementary. I felt the need to reach out and rally behind you in support of starting the school year on August 26th in person. We have to go back to school, guys. People are walking in complete and total fear of this virus and are blinded to the fact that if life doesn't go on soon, things are going to get ugly. Thankfully, I am working from home, and my kids have access to a safe home, food, internet, and homework help. But I think we are all aware that this is not the case for every child. My heart breaks for the kids who are trapped in abusive or unsafe homes. those kids who need school for more than just education, those who are sitting at home lonely, scared, and likely hurt because they have no escape. Those are the kids that I'm worried about. Those are the kids that people are pushing for virtual school systems do not care about. Those people have their option. If they want to live their lives in fear and teach their children to demand their way or the highway, then by all means let them. But please push with everything you have to sway in the interest of those kids who don't have anyone else to sway for them. For those kids, the school system is all they've got. Additionally, and this sounds selfish to even say when considering the above, my kids are dying to go back to school. They miss their teachers and their friends so very much. My 7-year-old sat in his room and cried a few days ago because he was so bored. I am working from home during the day, so there is only so much entertaining I can do during those hours, and they are craving interaction. In short, please do not let the governor bully Madison County Schools into making choices that he sees fit. You've worked diligently to provide options for each and every family. Please do not take our choice away as how we raise our children. Thoughtfully and prayerfully, Amber Freeman. And she gave me permission to read her email. With those being said, after last week's meeting, I told some members that I would go out into the schools and see the schools, see how they were set up. I went to a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school last Monday before the governor spoke. All 3 schools were set up, they were prepared, they had plans. Their hallways were set up one-way directional, so kids were not interacting with each other walking down the hallways. Foley Middle School had it set up so the teachers were switching classes and not the students to keep the kids from passing in the hallways. Kingston was looking at making their hallways one direction with the exception of 2 small hallways. They had a plan. They was implementing our plan and then building onto it to give these kids a good choice to go back to school. Then Monday afternoon, the governor made his statement and pretty much decided that us as a board can no longer make this decision. Then Wednesday he come back out and liked his stance. In layman's terms, Monday he put a gun to our head, said we can't do anything else. Wednesday he lightened his stance, he took the gun from our head, but he's got 6 more pointed at us under the table. If we do not do what he says, there are consequences to our actions. We'll get KDE will come in and do audits and make Mr. Wood's life misery. He'll make Mr. Lakes' life misery. There are so many things, and us as a district, we have so many things going on because we are the 9th largest district in the state. Right now, we have 2 beautiful ATCs in the process of being built. We just awarded the bid to one last week. Hopefully in a few weeks, we'll award the bid for the one in Berea. Tonight, we're going to hopefully approve to start remodeling Clark Moore's. Each one of these projects has what we call a BG 1, 2, 3, and 4. And every one of those have to be approved by KDE or we cannot move forward. If you watch meetings in the past, you'll see we'll come back with a BG1 revision. That's because we've done something KDE didn't like. They can essentially hold us hostage for a long amount of time. And that will, in my opinion, will do more harm to Madison County. It is with every inch of my soul I want to go back to school. Because the majority of the people I have heard from, teachers and parents, the majority says, let's go back to school. But unfortunately, we have guns pointing at us under the table. It's something that a lot of people don't know about. I've sought attorney. We have a school board association. There's a gentleman that works on that association. He's an attorney. I've been talking to him all week. He confirmed that this is a ugly practice that KDE has done for years. If our district does something that the commissioner does not like, they make them pay. It's the ugly part of politics. But as of this time, I feel as though our hands are tied. Not the way we want them to be tied. And I'll be honest with you. When the governor said Monday night, I talked to Ms. Burford and I said there is no way I can vote to delay in-person school. There was no way I could vote for that because that was our decision. and the governor literally took it away from us. And then Wednesday, he got blowback on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's why he come back out Wednesday and said, I will not shut down any school district. He will not, but he's got KDE, he's got the health departments that will shut us down. And right now, out of 181 school districts, there's 4 going back to in-person. And I have a feeling those won't last a week before they get shut down by the state. So, is it what we want? Absolutely not. But unfortunately, I believe it is what we have to do, and we will do the best we can to do this.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. Dr. Gillum, I'd like to ask a quick question, and it may not be quick, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My concern is with this virtual learning. We had our option 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, we were unanimous in that last week.
Yes.
So with this, our concerns are now, my concern is with virtual learning. Are our teachers prepared? Will they have enough time to prepare? Because as of a week, we've been stressing that we're going face-to-face. How can we make sure that our students get the best education that our wonderful teachers can give them with virtual learning?
Okay. That comes with the recommendation, and we did request and recommend that we push school back a week. So that gives us an additional week of time for preparation.
Okay. Yes.
And as far as the days in school that we've been planning from the very beginning, actually, if you'll think back to it, this is the second calendar revision. We pushed back, first of all, to allow 10 days of teacher work time to get ready. And so now we've got, I guess, 15 days, work days that are up there in the front of the calendar. So, which allows them to really spend a considerable amount of time together preparing and so forth. So that's the first thing. Additionally, we have one of the things on your board agenda is a digital engagement series, which is a PD piece that teachers can go through individually. So we've got that. As well, we have our digital learning coaches that have been in training for the last few days that will be able to spread some training through our schools, and we have the Zoom program that we have purchased, which makes it better for teachers to be able to do face-to-face instruction through that meeting.
I have a question. The parents are totally burdened with the NTI.
Absolutely.
It was overwhelming for students and parents. So can you tell us how that's going to be different? And besides just seeing a teacher now, how is it really going to be different from virtual, from what they had in the past at NTI?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 or 3 things that are critical here that are differences. The first is that just our understanding and concept of a distance learning piece. We've been doing NTI for several years, and we had used NTI as a short-term replacement for being out of school. So it was a day here, a day there. It was not for an extended period of time. But the mind frame that everyone had was over that one day, where you basically supplement with some little assignments. And I think we heard the term busy work used there, and that wasn't necessarily the intention, but sometimes it did look like that. Well, when you start to stretch that out over 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 50 days by the time we got finished, that was a significant piece, and it wore on everyone, not just the students, but also significantly on the teachers. As we were going through that, our teachers did quite a bit of training and trying to develop some things, but one of the things that's very discouraging to teachers is not knowing which of our students were available for at different times during the day, and who had the technology and who didn't. So we didn't have that information about the students. So our teachers, in some cases, would put together these really good lessons and really engaging lessons, but then they would deliver them face to face, but they may only have 4 or 5 of their kids on there to be able to do that. So then they had to reach around and try to reach the other 15 or 20 that they had in class. So that was discouraging to them. So with this, one, we have a more familiarity going in. Second of all, our teachers are better trained, and we have time up front to prepare and launch, and we understand actually, I think, what digital learning have a better understanding of what digital learning needs to look like. It doesn't need to be these packets that are just piled onto kids and families every night and day. So, so those two pieces, and as well, this ability for us to have some prep time up front to really line that out. And then the environment that we're in now is different than we were in March. If you'll recall, the order back in March was for basically everyone to isolate at home. And, people were not able to go out hardly any place. Every place shut down there for a period of time. We're not in that environment. Even though we see these numbers and we're talking about all this, we're not in that environment. It is, we can have people into our buildings. In fact, Kentucky Department of Education, their call with KDE last week, and also the call, the governor's comments to us, were that we would be able to have small groups of students in. And so we've asked, as superintendent group, we've asked for a lot more clarification on that, and they're going to provide that for us the next few days. And we're anticipating having that by Tuesday. So we're expecting to be able to bring some small groups of students in. Now, that's not school, but it is being able to bring them in. And we're expecting to be able to offer some tutoring options. And as well, with our plan, even though this was a change, it really wasn't a change in our plans. We just have to go to that all virtual contingency plan, which we'd already planned for. We just were hoping we wouldn't have to use that in the beginning. We were thinking that's just in case we get a spike maybe in November or something. But unfortunately, we're having to pull that one at the beginning of the year. But having all of that and being able to bring folks into the buildings and have the kids there and work with it even more, I am extremely optimistic about our ability to deliver a much better product and experience for our students than the circumstances our folks were thrown into in March. But that doesn't mean it replaces in-person instruction.
Will the teachers be teaching in the classrooms where they have their resources and all that stuff?
With the virtual, they certainly have their resources there. And we're going to work through that, but that would be, I think, the best piece right there is to have them there where they can have the materials, be able to communicate with collaborate with their colleagues, and as well, be able to have access to students and to if we're going to have some small meeting times from time to time. Having access to that, I think, is certainly critical. Yeah.
So out of the massive amount of emails that I've received, which were all very appreciated, teachers, staff, I read every single one, and hopefully, sometimes I just responded with a thank you, but I have read, I understand, I see the support, I appreciate it. I know everybody wants to go back to school, which those emails far outnumbered any negative ones, and I understand that, and I still stand firm in my thought that our plan was so good and so detailed that we should be starting back to school in person. But I also know, after the emergency meeting today, that it would be detrimental to our students if we come in and then in a few days we get shut down. And it is what it is. So at this point, I think we have to move forward and address the struggles that we've identified. I have 3 pages of questions here on virtual learning, on how we're going to deal with HR issues, and I just want to get it all out. I cannot thank our staff, our administrators in these schools have been preparing and working on this for months. Even in the negative conversations that I had, and I don't want to call them negative, but from people that did not want to open school, they always came around and said how impressed they were with the planning. It's a time of high emotion. Everybody's anxious. Everybody's tired. Everybody is stressed. So I'm just going to ask everybody for a whole lot of grace here. So, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And what you've done. And now I think we just have to move forward and do the best we can for our students. It's, anytime anybody's come on the board, they say, how do you deal with these things? And you just have to figure out what is best for the students. So is it going to be detrimental to our students if we get them to school and then we change everything again and we close it? And that's, after the meeting with the KDE and the commissioner today, that's what I feel like will happen. And that's not fair to our kids. So I'm sorry we have to make the decision. I feel like it was made for us. But I support you, David. Dr. Gillum.
And thank you. And also as well, just you mentioned there a potential closure early on if we did resume on the in August, and we had a closure shortly after that, that would seriously jeopardize any ability that we would have to reopen at the end of September. So.
Well, maybe the governor should give out some child care for all these parents who's going to have to figure out if their kids someplace to go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to. You know, there's so many, and like I said, there's so many questions that I'm sorry that I'm going to just pepper all night on. But
Drink your water. We got lots of questions on that Sunday.
Throw it at me. I'll answer.
I do too.
It's fine.
And what I tried to do was take questions from all my emails. And I've spent a few hours doing it. But availability is one that I've heard a lot from parents, and it was really driven home by, and I'm sorry, I can't remember your name.
Erika Marlar.
Erika. About these parents that work shift work. How do we address and how do we help them? NTI in the spring was hard. It was hard on the teachers. It was hard on the students. It was hard on the parents. So, like I said, we've got to move forward. We've got to figure out how we help these parents and how we address the needs, because no matter what our teachers come up with, if we don't have resources, it's not going to work. So that's alternate schedules, and how we address that is like on the top of my list.
Absolutely. I have a note regarding those myself. Absolutely.
And I'll kind of expand
two or three
on
times.
what Ms. Brock said, is that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of these parents, they're going to have to take their kids to their grandparents' house and so forth. So are we going to have a system, obviously it'll be the best way if the teachers are in the school, but so if whoever is helping with these kids and they're doing the virtual, be able to pick up the phone and call the teacher and say, okay, we saw what you did, but we're not understanding it. Can you give us more further guidance? So one of my questions is, are the parents, grandparents, whoever's taking care of the children, helping them with their school, going to be able to call the school? Are there going to be ways that parents can come into the schools and we're going to have rooms set up so that they can social distance, but the child can still get some extra instruction on something? Because I really don't want to see kids fall behind. Because if for some reason a kid doesn't get to watch the virtual today, they watch it tomorrow, they may lose a little instruction. We need a way that these kids can come in and say, hey, I need a little help with this.
So students or parents come
Yes.
in and
Yeah.
go to the
And,
classroom.
you know, and even if it's not
Like
to
a
the
set up
classroom,
time.
they can call the school, set up a time and say, hey, and whether we have a room that's set up with dividers or whatever, so that teachers and kids, everybody can be safe distance and socially distanced, but that child can still get the help that they need on the subject they need.
Yeah. That availability is critical, certainly, yes. And I think we heard that very much, with our NTI work in the spring, and I think we heard it again tonight. And as well, flexibility. I tell you one thing that I know some of our teachers have worked on, and will continue to develop that, particularly is being able to archive the lessons in a video format so they can be watched at any time. That's one thing that could potentially assist families that work, are not specifically available during that, and as well help those students. But having that availability where we can come in, sit down, and yes, face-to-face, socially distant, but face-to-face, and work through some things, I think is critical, yes.
We're discussing things about teachers, but how does that affect our bus drivers or our cafeteria workers or our paras?
Okay, so.
They're part of this process too.
Absolutely. So those, what's that?
The resource centers, yes.
Okay,
exactly.
so all of those, all those folks are going to be, they're going to be working. The one that's probably the most difficult, I think, to kind of line out or have their duties more consistent with their typical job duties would be the bus drivers. But our paraeducators are going to be working alongside teachers. So when a teacher is doing a lesson, a paraeducator would be able to be on that lesson as well. And with Zoom, one of the benefits of Zoom over, we had Google Meets in the past, but any of those other programs that we've used for video conferencing, Zoom allows you to do small breakout rooms. So if you have a class of, say, 15 kids and the teacher is instructing, then the paraeducator can pull a small group of a breakout room of 3 or 4 kids for them to be able to read to them or whatever for a few minutes and then join back into the group. So our paraeducators can be very much involved every day in the instruction, and I would expect that they would be right there working alongside those teachers and making it happen. Our cafeteria workers, we're still going to be providing food, depending on which food program we're under. Will determine which sites we're able to open or have to open, but our food service workers are still going to be there. Family Resource Youth Service Center workers are going to be, they're already going around the clock. So bus drivers, one of the things that we're already looking at with bus drivers, if we've got to wait on Kate from guidance regarding the bringing kids in small groups, but if we're able to the degree that we're able to do that, if a kid needs a ride, we've got bus drivers and buses ready to go. We can go out and do a pickup. So that's a potential use of our bus drivers. So we're working through that, and then we can also bring our bus drivers into schools to do odds and ends. That's kind of a difficult piece right there, but it's still doable. But and that's just because of a bus driver schedule. A lot of our bus drivers have, a bus driver. Just so people know, our bus drivers are only contracted for 4 hours a day. And it's divided up into 2 areas. It's 2 hours in the morning and then 2 hours in the afternoon. So many of our bus drivers work day jobs or have other jobs that they work in the middle of the day to supplement income. And so, the simple thing would be to say, well, let's just bring them in for 4 hours. Well, you can't bring them in for 4 hours because, that jeopardizes their other job. And so in some cases you reach a practicality point. Do you bring somebody in to do a couple hours of work, have them drive all the way into work, do a couple hours, then go to their other job and then come back in and do 2 more. And we want to treat our people, the best way that we can and have respect for them. And so sometimes that's a challenge, but we can work through certainly things like that. But that's where we are on workers.
What about the nurses? What are we going to have them do?
Our nurses are still going to be contacting kids and reaching out to kids and talking about about their health needs as well. At the beginning of the year, the state still hasn't lifted the mandate for immunizations, and our nurses spend a lot of time making phone calls and processing a lot of that immunization work in the beginning. So the first few weeks of school here, they're going to be trying to churn those immunization records and everything in and doing that part. So between those 2 pieces and then contacting our families, they're going to be pretty busy as well.
And it'd be nice if there was a way that they could have an email that parents could reach out to them if they needed support in something.
Sure.
So they could get back to them.
So I know we're talking about this, but not to get ahead.
You're next, Lori.
I'm sorry, Lori. I'm sorry. We're in discussions, and it's down further on our agenda that we're moving our date out for another week so that we can allow more training for the teachers, but that also shortens that beginning time that these students would be. We've already pushed our date back once at recommendation of the governor, and so now they're asking to move it out again so that we're hopefully going to do that so that our amount of virtual learning to start the year off is going to be shorter, which is a good thing. I had a very eloquent email from a parent, and they asked if at least their students could come in and almost set up an appointment and meet their teacher. That's such an important thing for these young children, to establish that relationship other than just it be somebody they don't know on a screen. And I mean, she was just, I think I even forwarded you her email, to do that, and then maybe it be a time when we can establish if that child or that family needs help with getting a Chromebook, getting help with internet, and maybe setting up if they need food deliver or food pickup, and kind of make it of What can we do to serve you during hopefully what is a very short temporary time till we can open up in person? So is that something that you think?
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because I don't suppose that I had mentioned that whenever I was talking about pushing our date back. That gives us that 5 extra days and that extra week, and that will allow us the opportunity to schedule those in-person, face-to-face, meet your teacher and meet some of those needs that families have, such as the need for technology and so forth.
And I also want to add into there that maybe it will help us to keep track. I lose sleep at night worrying about these students that we may never see again. And then that if we have students that don't show up, then our frisky directors, our guidance counselors, we can be following up, check on them, see where they're at, what can we do to help. Let's get them back engaged, and then when this is over, we get them back in school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Lord, I'm
Well,
sorry.
the administration.
I promise Lori.
You go,
she
you
can
go, you go.
I'm not going to say another word till Lori goes, I swear.
ahead.
Let's let Lori go now.
She takes a deep breath before she speaks, and then somebody gets in.
That's your
You
problem.
go next after Lori.
Okay.
I am a parent, just like all of you all. And I agree 110% with what every one of you said. My girls are at home by themselves. My husband and I both work full-time. We are essential workers, and we've been working since March. My girls have been at home by themselves. We struggled just like every single one of you all did. And it has crushed my soul that our governor has put us in this situation. We made our decision last week. We want these kids in person. There is absolutely nothing more important than these kids being in that classroom with their teachers and learning. We don't have to sit here and debate the detriment that they are experiencing and what they are going through. I see it in my own home. And I see no end in sight for this. And we just continue to, the negativity that these kids are facing just keeps mounting. And we are doing all of these things at the risk of, let's keep them safe. Well, what's worse, the cure or the disease? And this board is as strong as they can be in doing what is right for these kids. And I am just furious that our governor has taken that away from us and backed us in a corner and said, this is how it's going to be. I don't trust you to make those choices. And as a mom, this virtual piece does not work. It is not the best education for our kids. It is not. It might work for a little while, but it is not the best for our kids. And every single one of us up here are elected, and we are bound by the state of Kentucky. It is law that we provide a high-quality, equitable education to these kids, and this is not it. And we have worked tirelessly on this plan, and I can't say enough about how strong it is and how thorough it is. We've covered everything. We've left no stone unturned. We've had medical doctors look at this plan. Is it perfect? No, but we don't live in a perfect world, friends. And none of us are promised a tomorrow either. So I sit here and I think about my girls and what this is doing. And now I get my hands put behind my back and backed into a corner on a decision that we'd all already made. And I have none of us have taken this lightly. This has worn on us more than anything. And after Monday, it's been even worse. So I just want everybody to know, we have heard everything you've said, and it is by far the majority in this community that want these kids back in school. Absolutely the majority, no question asked. It is the majority of what everybody wants, and it is what we want.
They vote that way, we got your reaction. We just made the case.
I understand, I know. And I just, it's killing us all. I mean, it is. But I think about my babies at home and your babies, and where does it end? I mean, so I say all that to say, I'll get back to my virtual questions because I got many as well. So what does this look like for these option 1 kids? You know, I know our option 2 people had schedules and they were, 8 to 8:30, 9, whatever. Are they going to be in front of a computer all the time? What's it going to look like?
Okay. No, so our students that chose in person, when we go to that all virtual contingency plan, they essentially choose one of those two models that would be delivered by their classroom teacher or the team of teachers there at their school. And so essentially the students who chose in person would identify for this period from the 2nd to the 25th. They would identify whether they want to do the in-person or the interactive, which they would be on a schedule and it would be a specific timed piece through the day. They would not be sitting there in front of the computer for all day, but they would have classes throughout the day. They would have sections throughout the day.
Like option
yes.
2.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the way we kind of envision that is a teacher would come on, they'd have their class there on a Zoom meeting or whatever, and the teacher would do 15, 20, 30-minute lesson, 45-minute lesson, depending on the content. And then students would do independent work, and the teacher would be there, perhaps, kind of go off screen. Kids would work independently. If they had a question, they could come back in. Again, I mentioned the paraeducators breaking into the small groups, working individually with students. Teachers could work individually with some students that were doing different things. That's for the ones that chose that model. For the ones, for the students who had chosen in person, but now that we're in this all virtual contingency, they can't, for whatever reason, they don't want to or they're unable to do the interactive piece where they're on a schedule. They would be more of the independent piece, and the work would be assigned, and they would do it and turn it in, and it would be, we hope, and I say we hope, if technology is available, we're trying to work with our families to make sure that everyone has access to that. But and there's a couple of issues with that. One big, let me sidebar here to the technology piece for just a second. We do have some money set aside in our budget to provide some hotspots for families. First of all, we're going to work through the Family Resource Youth Service Centers to try to connect them, families that not have internet connectivity, to connect them with some internet providers to see if we can do it that way. And if they're still unable to do that for whatever reason, we can provide them with a hotspot, provided that they live in an area where a hotspot will pick up. And that's what we're finding. That's going to be the issue that we run into. Those families that don't have connectivity through a cable provider for internet service, but then they also live in an area where they cannot get good cell service, and if they don't get good cell service, the hotspot will pick up. But anyway, we're going to try to work our best to make that happen for as many families as who don't have that. We also have some downloadable options. They can come by once a week and download some stuff and go back. So we have 2 or 3 options there. But anyway, for those students that had the independent piece, that's what they would do. They would get on. They would watch probably archived videos. We also are recommending the purchase of the Edgenuity program for elementary. We have that for our high schools. So that would be another option for the instruction. Teachers at that school, grade level teachers at that school, will design that piece and put it out there for them.
So they're going to be picking option 2 or 3?
Essentially, yes.
And then?
A format similar to option 2 or 3 for that time being. And then once we return to in person, once this recommendation from the governor expires on September, the last school day would be September 25th, and we would then be able to return on the 28th. We'd pull back in.
So do we have enough Chromebooks for everybody?
We do not have enough Chromebooks to go one-to-one, and we do have some ordered, and they're still being shipped. Hopefully, we'll have them soon, but, again, no promises.
So what are we going to do with those kids that don't have technology?
Okay, so I said we don't have enough Chromebooks to be one-to-one with everybody, so we don't have enough to loan out. If everyone came to the school and wanted to borrow a Chromebook, we would not have enough. However, we do have a significant number of Chromebooks. We've been buying Chromebooks for quite a while. And I believe, as we look at our numbers, I believe that there's enough to meet the needs of our families that need them. Okay, so what we would ask of our families is, if you need one, ask to borrow one. If you don't need one, please use your own device, so you're not taking a device from somebody else. Please don't do that just out of convenience or whatever, especially for this interim period. I regret having to push back as much as anyone. However, you can also look at it, and it's not that long, but it's not that long because we've already pushed back a couple of times too. So so I don't want to make it not sound like like what it really is. But
Well, if you need 5 extra, right here.
all right,
We'll volunteer ours.
we'll send the Chromebooks. All right.
So, Dr. Gillum, there's a couple of things, and the mental health of these students. We know, it's just such a concern. Will we have the availability for our counselors to be available during this interim virtual time to either meet in person, schedule meetings with parents, or with the students? And then this is twofold. I also know that we do a suicide prevention in service with our students. Is that going to take place now before we, during this
Yes.
interim time?
Okay.
I just feel like the mental health of these students is so important, and it can't be ignored.
Yeah. I agree.
What are we going to do?
And I think that's, and everyone will tell you that that's one of the biggest issues, because we know that our students have mental health needs. You all have heard me say before that one of the biggest challenges or the biggest changes to education since I came in 28 years ago is the increased mental health needs of our students, in particular very young students. So that realization is there. So first, the availability of our guidance counselors, absolutely. As I've indicated a couple of times, we can bring people into our schools. It's not a shut the door, nobody's allowed in. And I'm going to expect that even though we can't have school as normal, I'm expecting our school buildings to be very lively over this time. So that's to answer that. Regarding the suicide prevention training, that suicide prevention training is for grades 6 through 12 by state law, and it has a requirement that be completed by September 15th, and that requirement has not been moved or removed. So it is still a September 15th requirement that our grades 6 through 12 get suicide prevention training. Now, the state has worked with their mental health counselors and I guess the Department of Public Health to redesign that training a little bit, because it's going to look different in a virtual model where kids are not around other students and don't have access to all the school counselors and other things that we have, where they're doing it at home with parents. So they have designed a couple of pieces. One's a parent information piece that's going to go out in their schools as soon as we get up and running. We're going to send that out to parents so they can see that, again, parents grade 6 through 12. And then there's also a piece that's not required by law, but there's an informational piece for, I think it starts with grade 3, maybe grade 2 or 3 through 5. As an information piece. That part does not hit on the suicide prevention necessarily, but it hits on building resiliency and with kids. So that's a piece that we will try to push out to parents as well. But then the training itself has been redesigned so that students can do it at home, and we're going to send it out and ask the students to do it. We're going to keep our checks on it and try to make sure that all of our students get that training in. That will be part of our virtual lessons.
I know they were highly involved in the spring when we closed, but our Frisky directors, their importance right now to us it's just vital. in their help and helping us identify our families and our students that are most risk.
Absolutely.
What can we do as a board to support what they need during what, again, I'm going to call hopefully our temporary situation?
Well, I will keep you apprised of that. A couple of things. One, that we've already kind of taken care of is, one of our schools does not qualify for, all of our schools in Madison County have a Family Resource Youth Service Center director or assistant assigned to them. So every school has an individual assigned with the exception of one, and that's Boonesboro Elementary. And the reason for that is you have to apply, and actually Madison County, you have to apply, and there's requirements around the programs, and you have to put together programs based on your free and reduced lunch populations and all of that. Actually, we've been able to structure a program. Mr. Neely can probably tell you a whole lot more about that than I can, because he's been working directly with it for several years. But we've been able to structure a program in Madison County where we do have all of our schools covered until we built Boonesboro, and we were hopeful that we'd be able to add them in, but we ran into two problems there. One, the free and reduced lunch percentage in that particular school was not quite as high. It was not high enough it's high enough to qualify, but it wasn't high enough to qualify for need and rearranging a budget. So anyway, so we don't have an individual there, but we're working with Mr. Neely. We addressed that issue, and actually I was at Boonesboro about 8:30 on Wednesday morning, yesterday morning, I guess, and talking to staff, and that was one of the first things that came up was, you know what, we don't have a frisky, and so I called Mr. Neely and I said, let's take care of that, get us somebody down there. We can't necessarily hire a Family Resource Youth Service Center director, but you can get somebody down there that knows how that works and to work with that. So he's taken control of that, and so we've already addressed that need. Amy Carmichael kind of heads up our Frisky. She's the Family Resource Youth Service Center director out at Kirksville, and she does a great job. She kind of is the leader of that group. I've been in communication, conversation with her several times. When she asked for something, we provide it. And so I'm appreciative of the board being willing to, give me a little bit of latitude there. And you all understand how that works. And as we move forward, if there are additional things, I will certainly have that group let me know, and we'll present them to you. And I'm confident you all will be supportive of that, because they're playing a critical role with our families right now. It's incredible.
I want to just back up just a little bit on our kids that in my district that I have in southern Madison County. I have areas that there is no internet, there's no cable, telephone lines, and if it rains, they're done. And areas that cell phones don't work. Mm-hmm. What are these kids going to be relegated to, just NTI? Or are we going to do something to try to get them out, to get them into the virtual world?
Yep. So 2 or 3 options there, and schools are going to have to work with kids, and that's again up front before we ever start this. Being able to talk to families and meet with them and see what the needs are. We don't want to build a big complex system and then some of the needs not be there. We want to tailor it individually the best we can. So a couple of things that you're mentioning there. One, we've added wireless access points at our school, so families can pull into our school parking lots, and it depends on the school where specifically it's located, but they can pull into those parking lots or onto the bus ramp and access our wireless network. So that's one piece in terms of increasing accessibility to internet services. Another thing is we do have the ability to loan them a Chromebook, and a lot of our content is downloadable, okay? And so they can download it there at the school, they can take it home, work on it through that environment, and then bring it back, upload different videos and different things, and then bring it back, and then download that work and upload new work. That's an ability that we have with a significant amount of our programming and lessons. So those are a couple of things, but then I think a third thing is one thing that you guys have hit on 2 or 3 times. Are we going to be able to bring kids in and do some work with them? And I think that's got to be available. Absolutely.
Because I don't want any child to be left behind because of where they live. And in my area, I have a lot. My and Lori's area is covered in these areas that there's no phones, there's no cell phones, because you get down these mountains and these hollers, and there's no way to connect. And I don't want these kids to be punished or be given less of an opportunity because of where they live.
Yes.
What about our special ed students? How is that, how in the world is that going to work?
Well, all of our special needs students have IEPs, individualized education plans, and those are written for in-person school, okay? That's just the way we write them. We don't write them for a virtual world necessarily. So our special ed teachers are working through that, and our special ed department is working through that. They're pulling those IEPs and looking at how they can make those accommodations and still provide those services in a virtual format. So for a lot of our students, the thing is, a lot of academic intervention pieces, and so those, we will have our collaborative teachers. So if a student, one of their accommodations is collaborative, a collaborative teaching environment. If a teacher is teaching the class, that special education teacher can be in that classroom with her. That's one of the reasons why it's so critical that we have a schedule set out for our teachers, for those for our classes, for those programs on that option 2 piece, that interactive digital interactive virtual learning, that piece, so that our special ed teachers can get on there and help those students and be that assistance with them as well. I mentioned the Zoom breakout piece, so a special ed teacher can, when we're getting to a certain part of the lesson, they can pull that child aside and do a modified lesson with them, or make whatever accommodations are within that IEP. So that's one piece. Then our related services through special education, a lot of our therapy services and so forth, those can't be done virtually. Some of our speech services can. I think one of our parents actually spoke to that. We'll do the best we can with like the speech piece and so forth, but a lot of our OT and our PT and some of those can't be done virtually. So, but we will be, but those folks are accustomed to in the, I guess in the real world, I suppose, or outside of the education world, they're used to doing, our OTs and PTs are used to doing, home visits and other things. And as well, again, I'll go back to it, our schools will be open, so we can. We're going to try to work that out the best we can. Absolutely, yes.
In the virtual world, is attendance recorded, required? What if someone doesn't turn in their homework? What if they're not showing up virtually?
We don't want people not showing up and Mr. Woods having a stroke.
So one of the things that is different when you do a virtual piece, and really the department has given us flexibility for most of the entire year on the idea of participation rather than attendance. Our funding will not be tied directly to students. In a typical year, it's students sitting in a seat and we can see them, and that's where our funding is tied to. This particular year, it's not tied that way, simply because realizing the disruptions and the different pieces that could come up, but also they want to be very careful to create an environment where school districts pushed kids to come to school when they were not feeling well, or families to send students when they were experiencing symptoms. So they pulled off of that. So it's participation that we're being kind of scored on, as opposed to the in-person attendance. But we will still take attendance. We will still look at those things, not for the purpose of filing truancy charges on anyone, but simply for the purpose of, knowing which of our kids are participating and who's not, and who's falling behind, and who do we need to reach out to, and where do we need interventions.
Good. So along those same lines,
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about, my girls are doing the option 2.
Yeah.
If we're on a device with no camera, how are you going to know if they're there or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a Chromebook.
You're exactly correct. Yes. And now our Chromebooks, absolutely. All of our Chromebooks do have that, and a lot of our families have the have webcams on their computers, and as well, if you're using a personal device, an iPhone or whatever, for a Zoom call, that camera piece is there. Yeah, and that's another piece that is accessible, because we do know that a lot of families have computers, but then they also but they don't necessarily have webcams on them.
That's me.
Yeah, same here. I do at home as well. That's what I have. But they can do the face-to-face piece right here and actually pull whatever up on the computer that they needed to and work through it. So, yeah. And our kids know how to do that better than adults.
So pushing the start, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Pushing the start date back, the next 3 weeks, what is happening? What are our teachers doing?
Okay, so they're going through training, first of all. You know, there's, I mentioned that digital engagement series for that. Different PD pieces that they said they needed, and a lot of those are focused on engagement in a virtual format. So that's part of it. But then a big chunk of it is teachers simply working together to design quality virtual lessons and get this piece out there and rolling, and so that it's quality. Because you know, we know it's a burden on families, but it's also it is a burden on a teacher to design multiple different pieces using form. It's much easier. You don't have necessarily have the student behavior issues you have to deal with, but when you try to design instruction for kids that are all over the county, it's a challenge. And for students that you don't have, you're not able to, I said you don't have some of the behavior management problems, but you also don't have that ability to look a kid in the eye and say straighten up and sit up straight and let's get to work on this. You can try to do that virtually if they come on. That's the other piece. So there's challenges on the teacher part. So they're designing that work. They're collaborating together to try to share the load on some of these pieces. A lot of our teachers are learning. They're setting up Google Classrooms. They're learning how to archive video pieces. So when they do their lesson with their class, that for a student that may have missed that it's an archived piece and it's sitting over there. So they're doing all of that as well. We're going to use that time to contact families, get with them, get our technology devices out to those families that need it, and as well set up those personal, individual, or small group meetings with our teachers and with our students, so we have that connection to start this school year. That's what's going to be happening over the next 3 weeks. And actually, I say 3 weeks, we've already used 2 days of that 3 weeks, yesterday and today.
So one of the things that we always do at the beginning of the school year is assess our children and see where they're at.
Yes.
And we use already.
Yes.
So regression is a huge concern of mine. How we assess where these kids are, where they got behind, and how do we address that moving forward? Because I know we have certain things that we have to teach. They're coming in third grade. They've got to learn this, and this. But we've got to back up at this point and make sure, assess these children where they're at academically, reteach. How are we addressing that? Because regression is a real worry. We heard it from parents here. I'm hearing it in email. So what do we do? And
that is, you mentioned it already. We're going to try to work with them to. There's a couple of issues that we made the iReady assessment available to our students to take from home in the spring, and that's not the best environment. Simply because for a lot of reasons, and it's not preferred by the company as well, because our data goes into their national data, and they prefer that we don't do that. So we're working with them to try to establish kind of a baseline so our students can get that get an instructional path through that system. So if students are using that, and I would think that we would certainly use that for our K-8 students. So that we're working with the company to try to identify that instructional path, that instructional piece. Another thing, though, one item that can potentially be as strong or potentially improved through a virtual environment is that identification. If we can get that FaceTime with those students on a format, okay? Because one of the things that we struggle with during a class, if a teacher has 25 kids in front of them that they have to work with, being able to pull a child one-on-one is a challenge. Okay, we do it, but it's more challenging. In a virtual environment, being able to pull the students on and do a short lesson, if a teacher has a block of time, being able to do a short lesson and then having the students do their individual work, they can shut down into one of the small rooms there, do an assessment with a child. It actually provides us with some additional opportunities to do that. So hopefully we should be able to identify where our students are. But again, the limit there is the most challenging piece there is the students have to engage us with that environment.
And in talking about this regression and the worry about that kind of segs right into another question I had on here. What about our reading interventionist, our math interventionist, those people that we work with to try to make sure that the students that are behind, I mean, now I see us needing more of those people, maybe reassigning people. We've got to get these kids caught up. We've got to get them on track. We've got to help them.
Yeah, but there again, one of the challenges with that is, and with our entire reopening plan, one of the challenges with that is during this current COVID situation, as far as the need to distance, pulling students into small groups, if you're physically there in the building, becomes a challenge. So what we had actually done is reassign some of those intervention folks, because they were not going to be able to pull their small groups, because then that messes up all of the contact tracing and everything else. So we'd actually kind of reassigned some of their duties so that they would be, working with the students and instructing, which allowed us to reduce those class numbers. Yeah, so that was a good thing. And then, once we kind of get through this, we can go back to normal. Now, this threw us for a loop, having to go to the virtual format, okay? But I'll get with our principals and we'll work back through that. But that's certainly, those, you all have heard our reading intervention in particular. We know how impactful that program has been. Yeah.
So now I'm going to just throw something just out there.
Go right ahead.
They have us closed down until the end of September. It's the recommendation. We have a fall break scheduled the second week in October. Is that something that, as administration, you all think we should consider moving back and, I don't know, tagging it on that week in the end of September to cut down on our virtual time? Or I'm just throwing out any possibility that keeps them from anything that we can do. That's it. Yeah. What can we do?
Well, we can do whatever the board would like to do on that, is what we can do. Okay. So what I would suggest with our current calendar recommendation did not do anything with any of the dates beyond. It would just deals with this beginning of school piece. So we can certainly revisit that. I think we can bring Mr. Neely in to get that calendar committee back together. I think that's something that.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we've bantered around the idea just a little bit. Realize, it's Thursday night, and this bomb was dropped on us.
Monday
afternoon.
Well, Monday at 2:00. I think it was 2:00.
Yeah.
I had is when we were notified of a meeting, or when I was notified of the meeting. I think they sent the notice a little earlier, but I was in meetings and didn't realize that we were going to have it until then. So we've only been working on, I guess, kind of a piece here since then.
Well, and not forget, we had a 3 o'clock meeting today.
And we had a 3 o'clock meeting today, so it's shortened us down. But, so we talked a little bit about fall break and what do we do with that. And honestly, we can look at a lot, we can do whatever the board wants to do on that. I have no issues with any of it. What we do know is there are some folks in our community that have planned, because they did not do vacations in the spring, and that was on our calendar, that they have been planning for that. And that was one of the first things we looked at is, do we need fall break? Because if we're going to be virtual and then we're coming back, do we pull that off? That wasn't something I was prepared to make a recommendation on tonight, simply because being mindful of the families that do have things scheduled, whether that's a vacation or some other type of event scheduled. So I don't have a recommendation to take it off tonight, but we can certainly look at it. But you all can certainly modify whatever you want to. I would suggest we get that calendar committee back together to take a look at it and
I think it's a
consider
great
some
idea.
options. Yeah.
I think we've been out enough. And most people aren't taking vacation if they can't travel.
I would,
Some people may have decided to take vacation in the fall
That's-
during our
that's
break
what I was-
because
yeah,
the
that's
numbers
what-
were so high
yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
So back to,
Yeah.
what are our vocational classes supposed to look like through this?
well, our vocational classes, if the ones that are done by Kentucky Tech, at our area tech center, those, they design those and they put those out, and they do have virtual modules for all of their classes, and they're going to try to run those the best that they can. I mean, they're going to have those available.
Like
yes.
wood shop and.
I'm sure Mr.
Yeah, they actually have virtual simulations on those pieces. Yeah.
I'm sure Mr. Pinson would agree, it's kind of hard to weld virtually.
Yeah.
Or carpentry, or
I
auto mechanic.
I cannot disagree.
Electrician.
I certainly can't disagree with that.
What about, where we're planning to some degree to be able to bring some students in for tutoring, or whatever the case may be?
Mhm.
We've got that piece. We've got our teachers that are going to be in there doing their Zooms or whatever. Is there going to be opportunities for like administration or for us to kind of stand in the back and observe? this
See what's
virtual
going on?
piece?
Yeah, you're welcome to, certainly our administrator, I memean, that's an expectation that they're circulating and they're monitoring instruction, absolutely. And for you guys, anytime you want to do a visit or see what it looks like, just let me know. I'd be glad to schedule that. Mm-hmm.
And the other question I have is, back to the mom and me. So you've got children at home by themselves, because mom and dad are working.
Mhm.
How are they supposed to be fed? How are they supposed to get food? They're not going to be able to drive to the school and pick it up.
They're not, that's correct, yes. And we do have a couple of different, the Department of Agriculture, which works with our food service program. We have a couple of different models that they permit at different times. We have the traditional school lunch program, and then we also have our summer feeding program, which is the one we do in the summer. The rules on those are different, okay? And so when we're talking about our reimbursement rates and because that's our food service department has to stand on its own. So the folks that are hired through that, we have to pay for it with the funding that we get through that. So doesn't have to, but that makes that's a big benefit to our overall general fund. So it keeps us from having to eat into the general fund to do that. But depending upon which program we're able to be under, and I say depending upon which, when COVID hit, they automatically went and told us that we could be on the summer feeding program. So that's why we were able to offer meals to our folks at any time and feed them on nights and weekends and everything else. We are hopeful that that is part of the, I think it's part of the next set of federal, in the next federal relief package, that there's money set aside with the USDA to be able to provide that through the federal lunch program. We're hopeful of that and somewhat optimistically confident that it will happen. But if until then, or if we're not, we're on the National School Lunch Program, which means students would have to get the food at their school site. Yeah, or I think parents can pick up for a child, can they not? Yeah, but it has to be at their school site, and it would only be that breakfast or lunch. So that's more limiting. Okay, more limiting. So hopefully we'll be able to be under that other program.
So if we were to go into the other program, I know you hate this question. We tried that delivering with the buses, and of course it was just thrown on us too fast.
Yeah.
But do you have something similar to that you maybe think you can do, or is it going to be, just parents picking up and some people taking it and stuff like that.
We'll do the best we can. Here's what we ran into. The biggest piece that complicates the delivery is that a large percentage of our students that request delivery do not stay in their home on the day that they request, during the day when we're out of school, okay? They're staying with an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or a babysitter or someone someplace else, which our data system doesn't have registered. And so, and that's, initially in the spring, we didn't think it would be that difficult. And it wouldn't have been to take food to their homes. But when you're trying to get food to a child who lives here, but they're staying over here, our data, we don't have a data system to do that. Everything had to be hand entered and manipulated. And on day 2, the kid was staying with someone else. And on day 3, so Mondays and Wednesdays they stay with that part became really confusing. We have the potential to provide some delivery.
So I'm thinking like a bus route. This is your bus route. You go down your bus route and you drop it off those houses. If those houses don't have kids in them, which could be turned in, that they're not there, they could be added to a different bus route for delivery. I mean, I delivered some during the summer. And it was really fun.
Yeah.
And eye-opening. But, I just, once I found where the kids lived, we just went to every one of them each day and dropped it off. Of course, they were waiting out in the yard and everything, rubbing their hands. So it was exciting. But that's what I'm thinking, we got bus drivers that we don't have anything to do. Well, they have some things to do, but this could be something they could do.
Absolutely.
Maybe. What?
I was going to say, there's several regulations that become cumbersome with National School Lunch. One, the parent has to sign up to receive that meal. We have to verify that it's the parent or custodial parent of that child who received that meal. We will be providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner once school starts, whether it's virtual or in person. But delivering meals is a lot more difficult following the rules.
Well, I'm thinking if the COVID rules where they were able to just sign up and people were.
If we're under summer feeding and they keep the rules the way they are, it's a lot easier to do so. However, we've been asking for months to continue those rules. We're only able to do so until the 31st of August. It doesn't look promising. It's been sitting on Sonny Perdue's desk for months. Unless Congress does something quickly, I don't see it changing, but it could. So under summer feeding, yes, it's easier. It's a lot easier to do that, but parents still have to sign up for it. They have to request us to deliver it to them. So currently right now, we're going to start feeding back on Wednesdays and Fridays, pick up, and street eats will continue until we no longer can do so.
Just thoughts.
Yeah.
No, you know me, I want to feed every child in Madison County.
Yes.
That's why we made every student free. That's why we don't charge. We're probably one of the few districts, especially this large, that made every child free. We'll do everything we can to provide the best meal we can, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I'm limited staff, 5 per school, so it's tough.
Yeah, I can see that. But I want to see that child that's parent went to work and left it get some food.
So do I.
A question I got, are middle schoolers going to be required to be in uniform when they're in front of their devices?
Surely not.
Not that I'm aware. I mean, I think there have been some protocols put out there that.
Asked me that.
Yeah. I think there's some protocols that have been put out that, we need to be, if you're going to be in front of your class, let's make sure you're dressed appropriately. You don't.
You have a shirt.
But we're not going to.
Yeah, you need have a shirt on. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
But we're not going to take it so far as being in your dress code and all that kind of stuff.
I am not aware of any of our dress code is handled by our, at the school level. I'm not aware of any that have that have made that statement. If someone finds out differently, I'll check with them, but if anyone finds out differently, let me know. I'd like to have a follow-up there.
So, like I said earlier, I had gone through my emails and tried to pull questions and concerns that I had. So I had a couple of concerns from teachers.
Sure.
One was if they have technical difficulties, is our IT group available for support? And do we have enough IT support available with this potential for a temporary virtual school?
Yeah, I think we're okay there. We're within the guidelines and recommendations of, staff per device and that type of thing. And so certainly our technology folks be able to get out and assist, provided we're talking about technology in the buildings.
Right.
That's, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I've had issues with complaints from parents saying they had, maybe the teacher dropped, and I think just technical issues in general.
Yeah.
The other issue that I had was a question from a teacher about the availability for them to take leave due to being immunocompromised, or there being a position for them to assist virtually. Are we still working with those teachers that are coming to you all and voicing those concerns and trying to meet their needs?
Absolutely, yes, we are. And
Did we have many? Can I add that in? Did we have many teachers?
Here's what I will tell you. I mean, we've had several requests for different types of accommodations. Some of those have been, I want to teach virtually. Some have just been a few little minor accommodations within the school, little adjustments that could be made to the regular work schedule. And then others have, because of very severe circumstances, they've requested extended leaves. We have had that. But as far as the numbers of teachers that requested to teach virtually, we did. Don't have it right here, but I know we have posted. When we talked about the positions the last time, we've posted several of those positions to be filled by. We're going to have to hire a teacher outside. So, in other words, they did not get filled by someone within our district because they didn't request it. So.
So the numbers.
As of right now, as of my last conversation with principals, which was yesterday afternoon, specifically around that, around our virtual teachers, we had more of those virtual-only positions available than we had teachers requesting.
I'll share you with the email with the teacher that had concerns, so we can make sure that she's taken care of.
Yeah, and as well, I don't know that as part of our plan, an additional thing that we did is. When we did our safety training, we put it out for all of our employees, but an additional piece that we have added is on our Madison County Schools tip line. We added a COVID safety tip line, so if anyone feels that they have a concern about some type of coronavirus-related safety issue within a school, that they could get on there and do a tip, and that goes straight to us at district office, and we can get out and take a look at it. We ask first of all that they talk with their building administrator about that concern, but if they don't feel comfortable with that or whatever, they can fill that out. So we had plenty of opportunity for them to notify us of safety issues.
That's good to know those opportunities are still there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we want to keep them safe, even on the back-to-school day or, meet your teacher day.
Yes.
We need to focus on keeping them safe.
Even right now, when they're back in school, just the teachers there. If we have a teacher that is in need, we need to make sure they're safe.
And I think you all probably saw a lot of pictures. I think some of our principals posted pictures yesterday from our back to school and the teachers spaced out and everything. Yeah. So.
I just seen buses at Whitehall that look so exciting just to see the roll of buses out there. It's like, oh, school.
It's school. We're getting close.
It was nice to go by Kingston and see the parking lot.
A parking lot full of
instead of empty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how many, if we vote because our hands are tied, I don't want to keep saying that, our temporary resolution of this, how many exact days is it of virtual learning?
All right. What we are proposing in the calendar recommendation is that we take we build in 2 work days on the September 16th and September 23rd during that time, for teachers to be able to get back together and kind of regroup on all of these pieces. And so with that, what that ends up yielding is only 15 days of instruction. But now realize we're pushing back a week. So we're pushing back a week. It's 15 days of instruction. Which if you add the 5 days in from the week, that's 20, it's a month. And that's what we're essentially pushing back as a month. 15 of those would be virtual.
Any more questions? Dr. Gillum, you've been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. I wish I had better answers for you, just to be honest. We've answered the best way we can, but.
Mr. Burke, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is it.
This is not usually allowed, but I will allow
I
it.
realize that. A lot has been spoken since public made comment earlier. I would like to beg a chance to comment again. We've learned a lot since this meeting started. And if you vote, I would love you to hear one more time, just who you allowed earlier. We're not saying bring the world in and take the rest of the night. You're right, well past your time, but I would love to speak. Again, just a couple of things that I learned.
Can you do it in 2 minutes?
I think I can.
Then let's go.
Again, I'm Frank Little. I have 2 kids at Kirksville Elementary, and I wrote just a couple of things down. And from what I'm saying, I don't want this to be taken with any disrespect at all. I'm saying this in love because y'all have a very difficult job. So you're the expert on the school systems. We covered that a minute ago when I spoke. Parents are the experts when it comes to our children, and you gave us the opportunity to speak. You've all said you're being held with your hands behind your back. You have the support, Dr. Gillum, of your school board. Every one of them have said that. There's tears have been shed in this room over this decision. And so the first question is, what happens if this moves yet again? My daughter is one that has fallen behind. Brandon knows where I live. We have no internet. I'm currently spending $250 every month. I've got 4 devices that I had to buy. I don't need 4 devices. I did that for NTI last year. It's not enough. We run out of internet every month. Kids are at home. I have no extra help. Babysitters do not do NTI. Child care will not. My wife and I leave the house at 6:30 every morning. We don't get home till after 5. This lady right here, she's got more cause to holler than I do. And nothing that was said today addresses her. Nothing. It doesn't help me much, but it definitely does not help her. And she's fighting this thing on the front lines. You talk about internet. You can't provide enough internet for the entire county. I mean, it's a big rural county. That's not going to work. If this pushed on down, our kids are going to continue to fall. But what I do see is that you have the support of these folks. You have the support of parents. 70% of the parents support what we're saying. The governor can't fight everybody. Last fall, Madison County sent busloads of teachers to Capitol Hill because they didn't like what Bevan was doing. And I'm not talking about Bevan versus Brashear, but the county took a stand for the teachers. The parents will get on those buses, and there's way more parents than there are teachers. We could be heard on the Hill. We just need leadership. I think you are the man. The entire state is looking for leadership. I've seen other superintendents making the same argument that you are making, and I believe they'd follow. They just need somebody to step forward. I hope you will, and thank you very much for all that y'all do. Y'all have a very hard job, and I wish you the best.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I also think that there are several schools, like you mentioned, that are already, private schools that are they don't need the federal funding, and they're not going to have things taken away from them. So we follow their lead. If it works for them, it can work for us.
So, a question I have, and I already know the answer, but I'm just going to throw it out there. So, in that meeting today was our legal counsel.
Yes.
Because we have talked about what that means for us as a board. What can we do? Because we know how our constituents feel. And so we asked for our recommendation from our legal counsel. I wasn't at the meeting, so I'll let you share that with us, David.
Well,
You won't like the answer.
I already know the answer.
Yeah, it was an unequivocal, it would be very, very, very unwise for anyone to go about that and go against that. And, you know, I'm not an attorney, so I hesitate to discuss legal issues, you know, with any authority. But essentially, I understand, I certainly appreciate Mr. Little's comments there, and I do know that piece. I am certainly 100% confident that our families in Madison County would board those buses, and they would go and they would fight for our kids. That's not a question in my mind whatsoever. However, this piece isn't I will say it like this. This particular kernel nugget of this decision is not a political piece, okay? And it is essentially it is a legal piece. And when the governor lays out specific things that have been identified, when the Department of Public Health advises you against doing something, those pieces then become the standard of care. And it becomes then the duty and obligation of the superintendent and of a board to not fall below that standard duty of care, okay, that standard of care. And I understand the fact that you know, I have received tremendous support from our people in Madison County, and I will say this: I cannot say thank you enough to the parents and to the people who have emailed and said, our kids need to be. You want your kids in school not because you want your kids in school because you know the value of it, and you appreciate the value of it, and you appreciate what our teachers are doing, and you appreciate what our people are doing. And you appreciate the fact that kids need to be with kids, and I get it, I understand it. But that piece then is not, that fight that I'm talking about does not happen on, it's not a fight that is taken to Frankfurt. It's a fight that would end up being fought in every courtroom across the state of Kentucky. And you might go once, you might go twice, but you know the question is, I'm not confident. Back up on that. I believe in you people. That's not it. But what we know is it becomes then court decisions, and court decisions that are established on precedent, and court decisions that really don't have a whole lot of leeway. Okay, if you fall below the standard of care and someone gets injured in any shape, form, or fashion, you're responsible. We're responsible. And, regardless of how brave I might choose to be, I cannot put our district, I cannot make a recommendation to a board to put our district in a position that could jeopardize everything that we have. We have about a $6.5–7 million contingency. That's all the money we really have put back in the bank, and we're on solid financial footing. But realize we bring the money in and we put it out into our classrooms and into our schools and into our kids. We're not sitting on a big bankroll. One court case of someone injured, and our liability coverage does not cover. I will say does not. I mean, we have insurance people that can speak to that one. Likely will not cover if you make a decision that falls below that standard of care. And that standard of care was established when the governor said, made the recommendation to close based on those four pieces that I mentioned. The increased rates and increased current positivity rate and number of cases, the fact that 40% of the rate of children is increasing, and now it's 40% of there's a 40% increase in the positivity rate of, or number of cases in children, I'm sorry. The third piece being I don't even remember what it is now. What's that? Well, they stated them, but he stated it, and that has established the standard of care. And that's where my recommendation, that's where my recommendation falls, and that's all I can say for it. And that's where I, as a superintendent, as the, my duty to the board, that's what I have to recommend.
Thank you, Dana. Dr. Gillum, I'm sorry. We've talked so much. It's the first thing.
Before I call for the vote, I just want to thank you all for coming. It shows what a special, wonderful district we have. People who care, teachers who care, parents who care, children that care, that speak on behalf of their education. No, this is not easy.
I just want to say that we've been hit from every angle of actually, not just email. Me and my wife was at Fort Boonesboro camping, and I had a senior from Madison Central come up to me and literally begged me to let him go to his senior year. Don't think that doesn't weigh on us. We want it so bad, and this board voted last Tuesday to go back to school. But we literally have been put in a position that we have no choice whatsoever. I know you all think that we can stand up and be strong, and trust me, every one of us wants to. That's the reason I sought outside legal advice from an attorney that has nothing to do with Madison County. I have talked to everyone. I've talked to legislators. I've talked to other superintendents from other districts. We are literally hands been bound with this decision. I know you think we can stand up, but I'm telling you, the 4 districts that have voted to go back in person, they won't make it 2 days probably, and they will be shut down. It's a fact. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do, because if we open up, we will be shut down. The commissioner has already said he will shut us down. Even though the governor walked it back Wednesday, they will still shut us down. No hands, no way around it. And it breaks every one of our hearts. Trust me, it really does. Because I have read every single email. I've responded to every single email up until today, because about 2 o'clock, about noon, my email literally exploded. But I will tell you, if you sent me an email, I did read every single word.
We all
I just could not respond,
yet.
at least a thank you to each one of them, because I tried to respond, thank you, I appreciate your input. But literally at about 12:30, our phones literally blew up with emails. But I did read every single one. So do not think we are not taking this lightly. This is absolutely the hardest and worst decision I ever thought I would have to make on the school board. I got on this school board to represent the people of the 3rd District, to help the kids of the 3rd District, to be a voice. And I have tried for a year and a half. I have been in schools. The school administrations probably do not like me because I show up all the time to see what's going on in schools, because I believe the only way I can make a solid choice for our school system is to be in the schools and see what's going on. That's how I feel. So this decision to not be able to go into schools and see kids on opening day. I went with Dr. Gillum and Mr. Neely last year to every single school the first day of class. We hit every school. Me and Mr. Neely did not get lunch, but we made it to every school. That is what I like. That's what I enjoy. That's why I'm on this school board. And it absolutely breaks my heart to have to sit here and have no choice but one. Even though I applaud you and I am 100% with you, but I am 100% confident if we did open, we would be shut down within a day or two. And Madison County has too much to lose in the long run of things to do that.
I'm just gonna. For my girls and for your children, we've got to find a way to live with this virus. It's not going anywhere. And I fully stand by and am confident in the plans that we developed and that we came up with. I wouldn't send my children back if I didn't think that it could be done safely. And I feel like we can do that. I stand by that decision that we made.
I feel like all of us would stand firm in saying when September 28th, is that when it is, comes around, we're going to vote to open schools back up in person. Now, unless there is everybody's in the hospitals and something's crazy, but if it's like today, we're going for it. And I believe you would say that's what our intentions are. Don't you think?
Well, let me mention one thing. I left off I said my four things there. I left one off. The one is one of those reasons that the governor specified was experience in other states, in schools in other states that have opened, and there are several cases or situations. I will say so. There are a few situations in schools that opened and had a spike in cases.
Like in Georgia.
Yes, like in Georgia. That's one that's been used as an example. So there have been those, and they've been shut back down. They had to stop, but they had a bad experience, and so that's one of the reasons behind this. So as we move forward, we will have additional schools that will open. We will have the private schools in Kentucky that are opening. We'll have other schools in other states that are opening, and if that is no longer if there's no longer compelling evidence there, then certainly that's one more piece of evidence that falls by the wayside there. So, and I do think there is a distance.
6 to 9 months of virtual learning is non-optional to me.
No.
Absolutely not.
Mhm.
And
We have to give these kids education that's worth getting.
And in our district and in our county, yes, our cases are going up. We've had 3 hospitalizations.
One death.
I'm not going to I'm not going to debate what that means. But I just cannot, in good conscience, continue to destroy our children.
Okay. Are we ready? I appreciate your all's patience. I appreciate your willingness to be here, and thank you, Dr. Gillum. All right, we're still on 5B. I need a motion to approve Superintendent Gillum's recommendation to being the 2020-2021 school year with virtual learning.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition?
Opposed.
Okay. Make that for the record.
Can I say one thing? When I talked about grace, there's been a lot of, social media is just so bad.
It's ugly.
It's ugly. The teachers of Madison County love our students, and they need to be extended some grace because they're the ones that take care of our students. They're the ones that love our students, and it has been heartbreaking for them to be able to voice their concerns and the hate that's been spewed. So we need to be supporting our teachers in everything they do because this is so difficult for them, and we can't forget that. It's easy for us to become tunnel vision. This is stressful for everybody, but I can assure you it is stressful for them as well. So kudos to our teachers for loving our kids and doing the work that they're doing because I know it's not easy.
If we were allowed to hug them, we would. We're not allowed to hug them.
I just
I'm
want
a
to
hugger.
make a comment on my opposition to that. We all stand together. We do. And my opposition was actually in support of all of the hard work that we've already done. And I love our teachers. I just, and we're going to make this work. And we have got some incredible people doing incredible things. And we're going to make it work.
All right, moving on, 5C, to amend the school calendar. Do we have questions? Do we need to revise or go back over the dates, I should say?
The amendment, Mr. Neely's here, he can present it if he wants to, but the amendment is just simply to push the opening day back to that September 2nd and actually insert 2 days there, change them from instructional to work days during that virtual time. Everything else stayed the same, and we can certainly get our calendar committee back together to revisit, and we can do a calendar modification anytime you guys want to. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's an excellent idea. All right, I need a motion to amend the 2020-2021 school calendar as presented.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor? Any opposition? All right, the motion carries. Next, 5D, to adopt the resolution for emergency leave. Dr. Gillum, I know we've exhausted you.
I forgot this one's even on there, actually. But what we have here, one of the things that we run into is emergency leave with the coronavirus piece. So the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act does provide an emergency day piece, but we have to. We're bound by some federal, not federal, but state guidelines on this. So what we need to be able to do is to essentially have the authority to grant additional days if we have someone who is required to quarantine. Being in a school environment, it's a little different. Now, during our virtual time, that limit will be, we would be able to probably restructure those folks and not make them, they wouldn't have to come in necessarily at that time. We would be grant them the ability to work from home, so it really wouldn't be that much of a loss during that virtual time. But when in-person comes, and if we have an exposure there and have to quarantine, it would give us that ability to do that without damaging our folks. Okay.
Dr. Gillum, I have a question.
Yes.
This emergency leave under
Yes.
the Family First Act, if we have a teacher who is very autoimmune and really does not need to be in the building, does this cover any portion of that?
The emergency portion of this would not. The emergency portion only covers a requirement to quarantine by the health department or a medical provider. There's actually 3 provisions: quarantine from the health department or other state local agency, order to quarantine from a medical provider, or if you're seeking a diagnosis for COVID-like symptoms. So if you were experiencing fever and those types of things, we would not allow you into the building. We would say you have to go get checked out. You would go. If everything's fine, if they have an alternate diagnosis, you can come back to work. But that day we sent you off would count as one of these emergency days. Yeah.
Does this also cover a parent whose child may have COVID? Because I know for where I am employed, if a child, we get covered like 2/3 pay or something like that.
Okay. The Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, it has different sections to it. Specifically, the section we're addressing here and talking about and referencing is that emergency leave for those purposes. There is also, as part of that, some extended eligibility for Family Medical Leave Act. And one of those options is if your school is closed down to in-person instruction and you have to stay home to provide child care to your child, that you are eligible then for FMLA, employer provided, if you're otherwise eligible for FMLA, at a rate of 2/3 of your normal rate of pay, with a maximum there. And please don't quote me on all this stuff, because I'm rattling that off the top of my head. I suggest you, yeah.
I'm
But-
actually asking
but
questions.
that's-
I want to make sure
yeah.
our employees are aware of
But
this.
that is, and that, and also this emergency piece that we were talking about earlier, that's part of that Families First Coronavirus Relief Act. That's for everyone, everywhere. Yeah, it's not specific to schools. This would just extend that emergency leave if we have someone who has to be quarantined twice or 3 times or something like that. And, we're going to be extra cautious, so that's why that would be different than, that we would need that provision in a public school as opposed to some other work sites.
So I hate to throw Dr. Brumbaugh under the bus, but if someone has questions about this, they can contact Dr. Brumbaugh,
Absolutely,
HR, and ask
yes.
questions, get clarifications. So.
Yep. Yep, he will be able to walk you through. And there's some documentation, obviously, that has to be provided on those pieces.
It's all good questions. I mean,
Yep.
because they need to know. We need to know. All right, if there's no other questions, I need a motion to adopt the resolution of the Madison County Board of Education regarding the need for additional emergency leave for employees and granting authority to the superintendent to authorize emergency leave to those employees who qualify.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carries. 5E, approve renewal for cyber liability insurance. Is Mr. Livingston here? Yes, there he is. Welcome.
Boy, you picked a bad night to do this, didn't you?
Actually, it's the most important now, our cyber
Yeah,
liability.
no doubt. Are you okay if I take this on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've
Otherwise, we can't
been
get
in
you.
Morgan County at 2:00 in the morning, so, and I live in Scott, so yeah, this is not bad at all. So, I don't know, the terms and conditions on the policy have not changed, and the premium remains exactly the same as the expiring. So I don't know if you all have any additional questions beyond that.
If it helps, and to help Mr. Livingston get on the road, I've reviewed and everything looks fine.
She's our expert.
I know she is,
Lori
yes,
said it's good,
I
it's
know,
good.
yes.
Yeah.
She is our
Our
go-to.
trust is in Lori.
And I know she can help you answer the COVID questions and all that as well, so, from that aspect.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Livingston?
I do not. Now, I do have a question. Does this still cover our cyber awareness being held ransom? Is that
Yes,
part of
it
this?
does. It has a $250,000 limit on it. Well, on the ransom is a little different. I'm thinking of telephone fraud or fraudulent instruction. Ransom, I think, is at $1 million.
I just want to make sure that was
Yeah.
still part of it. 'Cause
And your deductible on it is $10,000. Yeah, and it's, knowing what's going on and going virtual is extremely
Yes.
important
Yes.
now. And one thing that I would, and nobody ever likes to talk about this or anything, but this doesn't have to do specifically with cyber, but we were looking at molestation and abuse claims and the increase in premiums this year with carriers. And we went back about 4 years and just Googled across the state of Kentucky for those. And we're averaging one every 6 to 8 weeks involving school personnel. Not just, we're charges. So the investigation's been done and everything, and there are charges. So I would encourage the board to really train and really reiterate to all school personnel, because there's going to be a lot of online activity. I know my wife teaches 3rd grade, and her kids are, they want to start a chat with her by texting or one of the other message me apps or something like that. And it's just something to really be aware of in the school systems right now, because we're going into a time that we've never had before that allows for more opportunity for some things to happen that are pretty tragic. So the cyber training and the aspect like that is going to be very important, reminding people what the consequences are, and not even to let yourself, even though you don't do anything wrong, don't let yourself get into a situation of a one-on-one back and forth with students all the time.
Dr. Gillum, can we get that for our teachers immediately?
Yeah, I have a note of,
Thank you.
to address
Yeah,
that.
and we've got some online training and stuff that we can help provide it's part of the services and stuff, so we'll work with central office.
I appreciate you telling us that, because my brain doesn't work that way. I'm not thinking of molesters.
Mine doesn't
of our
either, and
students.
the only reason I thought of it, and Ms. Cobb can attest to this, is the increases in the premiums this year in that line of coverage. And we kept saying, why are they
Sad.
going up so much? Why are they going up so much? And then, and if you look nationwide, it's even more prevalent in some other areas of the nation. So it's just something to keep aware of, because we know abuse reports have gone down by like 46% and all that. And so, it's not anything we all like to talk about. I've got 3 daughters. It's very uncomfortable, but it's something to be aware of.
Any other questions? All right, then I need a motion to approve the purchase of cyber liability insurance from Beasley Insurance Company in the amount of $12,785.60.
So moved. Oops. So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Moving on to 5F. Approve the purchase of Edgenuity Pathblazer courseware. That's a very exciting title, very ingenuity. All right, Mr. Muntz, thank you for coming.
Thank you all. I have a lot of respect for y'all, the decisions you have to make. So just want to say that to you.
And you did a nice job on the news.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
Throw that
that.
out there.
Yeah, we all know that in person is the best. However, we're going to do our best to make the virtual the best that we can. So the Edgenuity Pathblazer, it is really geared toward elementary level. And so we're looking to purchase that. Initially, it's for our option 2 students and our option 3 students. And it's not a software that you just put the kids on, let them just have to self-pace with that. But teachers can also get in it, manipulate the software, add their own lessons to it. It has diagnostics and screeners in it. It also has to be able to test for proficiency levels, and so it helps students walk through that. So like with the option 2, you could do a Zoom meeting, go through some of that with Edgenuity and science and social studies, and then when they have time to work on their own, they could use some of that. So it's going to be, and it's really geared toward elementary. We had it at the high school, the Edgenuity piece, but we needed something for elementary. So that's the piece with the Pathblazer.
So will we be able to get it purchased, installed, and our teachers trained?
Yes, so.
In the next 3 weeks?
Well, so we're already starting with, I've let some teachers know if the board approves it, but I gave them some videos with those option 2 teachers. So it's videos they can look at, get accustomed to. They don't have the solution in their hands, but it's how does this Edgenuity work? What's it consist of? What's it look like? How might I be able to manipulate it? So they have that in their hands right now. So this group of about 25 teachers. So then the next step is if the board approves it, we'll get the PO, get that to Edgenuity tomorrow, then he will work to get that in our hands, and then we'll continue work training with those teachers.
Is this something that's going to be downloaded on our Chromebooks and parents are going to be able to pull out of the cloud?
It's web-based, so it's just like get it on the web. It also has it has parent tutorials in it as well that the teachers can be able to share with the parents and how it works. So they put a lot of thought into it to help assist parents, make it user-friendly for the kids. Lots of good creative videos in it. It also has where it can read text to students. So I think it's a really good choice when we look for as far as virtual learning. Again, that's not the give it to the kids and that's the solution. The teacher is going to work with that, and they can make it their own.
It's supplemental.
Supplemental is a good word for that.
So is
yes.
our feedback from our high school teachers and has middle been using it?
Yeah, so this one we looked for elementary. Okay. Now the Pathblazer will go K through 8. Okay. But we really were looking for like K through 5 because we had nothing. For several years we've had Edgenuity, which is called another one called courseware. We've had that in our system probably 7, 8 years. I was thinking when I was principal at Madison Central. So on that side, going away from Pathblazer, I've been working, getting some, Alexis Blackmurn's related to Madison Central, who's really good with it, a site manager. She's gone to Cottle, she's going to go to Clark Moore's to help train to get the most out of that Edgenuity for folks. So also it has progress monitor in it. It can create a plan for students, so you get a lot of feedback from the system, so the teacher can be able to see that. So they still have the ability to create lessons and work with those students as they use this.
Did you say this is, so is this for our option 2?
Yes, that's what we were looking some for our option 2, especially in, yeah, science and social studies, option 2. And then we have some iReady things that we'll look for in option 2 with math and reading, but this also can help supplement with that. So we wanted to give them options in creating it, along with not just this, but using Google Classroom, using Bitmoji classrooms. I don't have one on the screen to show you, but it almost looks like you're in that teacher's classroom, and the ability to be able to click and go to some different links, and the teacher can walk through it. So we're working really hard to make the virtual instruction look much different than it did last year.
This has brought up a good point. Actually, this really goes back to Dr. Gilliam. I probably should have asked this back earlier. Just to kind of clarify, so we're basically talking about our option 1 students tonight for the most part, but we've got that 2 and that 3.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of teachers and who's doing what, we have option 2 teachers, we have option 3 teachers, and we have option 1 teachers, correct? So when we're talking about our students joining option 2 who have chosen in person,
Yeah.
they're not hopping in with those.
They are not, no. Those year-long option 2, what we call My School Online, those students who chose that option for the year, they've been assigned a group, they've been assigned a teacher team. And that's what Mr. Muntz was referring to, that when he said we've hired 20, he's got that group of 25 option 2 teachers. That's the group he's talking about, those that are going to be doing that all year long. The program itself that he's talking about can be utilized by any of our teachers, and will be, because our in-person teachers for a while are going to convert to, essentially they're going to take their class and they're going to convert it to an online format. And they're probably going to use this to some degree. But that team of 25 or so that he's talking about are the ones that he's going to make sure that he trains first on it.
Yeah, so we want to get those folks trained up so they can be really good with it, and then if they can help others be able to train as well. So, yeah. Any other questions you might have?
I have a question after we vote.
Okay.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the purchase of Edgenuity courseware.
So moved. Second.
All right, so the motion's been made by Mrs. Cobb, second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposition? All right, Mr. Muntz, real quick, my question is, I know you came to us last year with the program for seniors, or maybe it was the whole high school, their profile and their...
Oh, yes, creating resumes.
Yes, the
ACE.
resume, and I can't remember the name of it, I
ACE.
apologize.
ACE.
Oh, I should
Yes.
have. How is that, and can you update us quickly?
So we were, schools were starting to work through that ACE. Our middle schools were, there was one for the middle school and a version for the high school. And so as school was getting going, we were getting more and more kids on it, and then March hit.
Right.
So we hope to get that.
Can that be done during the virtual learning?
Yes, it
Okay.
can, and so we, they were groups of, so at Southern, it could have been in their activity time, I can't remember the name of it exactly, but they were working with their students in it, and Southern, or at Central in their studio time.
Right.
So they were getting students accustomed to it. So the plan was, they'll do a little bit with it this year, and then we keep growing with it. So yes, the answer is yes, we can continue to use that.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, I apologize for throwing.
No, that's
it
okay.
but-
Yeah, it got rolling really good, and then it
Yeah.
stopped, and it's like, all right, we got to figure out how we can instruct kids.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm pleased to know that we haven't lost it. It's
Yes.
not gone forever.
Yes.
I mean,
And Mr. Reister, he's been helping me work with that as well, so, in the Gear Up team.
okay.
Yes.
He has the next item on the agenda, too.
Oh, good.
He does,
Oh,
yes.
you do, so I'll just keep going then, I apologize.
You're
I was
fine.
waiting
Yeah,
for you
that's
to
why he's not
leave.
leaving.
Trying to get me to go.
I was waiting on you to sit down.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll move right into 5G, to approve the purchase of software. Mr. Muntz.
So the software we're looking to approve is called Digital Engagement Series. So there's several different modules that teachers can go through to help them learn to engage students virtually better. So we have about 50 e-coaches in our district that I met with last week that do trainings, and they go back out to their schools and help other teachers get better with the virtual instruction. But we also wanted something that we could give teachers that would give them the ability to learn more with this technology. So some of the modules: building relationships at a distance. I'm just going to name a few here. Student voice, the importance of being heard when you can't be seen. A virtual person learning network for distance learners. What else is there? Clear, consistent communication from afar. A new need for feedback. So it's giving teachers some tools on how they best can do this virtually. There's about 32 hours worth that teachers could go through. It's self-paced. It also has a digital sharing hub. So we could create a digital sharing hub that we could share resources within our district, or we can also look and see digital resources that have been shared around the nation. Again, something that can help our teachers, give them support in learning how to do some of these things virtually. Anything we can do to help provide that. And we're working to put structures, or we have structures in place that we're doing that now, but just another piece to help them with that.
You know, and one of the things, I'm all for this, any way we can help these teachers. One of the emails that I received, and I had to talk about it, was the younger teachers that have recently, I mean, it'd be like me comparing myself to my kids. They're very IT savvy. They've done this. Teachers that are my age and, you know, older, and this is not how they learn. This is not how they teach. It is changing how they do their job. Sure. And so anything that we can do to support them, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
It's helping.
And something we haven't mentioned tonight is our subs, like to make sure that they're trained. Will they be able to get this software?
We would have the ability to be able to have this. It's a district-wide license, so we have the potential we could have some subs in it that we could use. So, you know, I don't know if every sub would be in it, but we could have some subs that we could get this to them.
Like some of the subs that we use
Regularly.
constantly, regular
Yeah,
subs.
we have long-term subs, we have subs that are consistent. Yes, we
Yeah.
want to provide them support.
Yes.
with doing that.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the purchase of digital engagement series software as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Fast. The motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Mons. 5H, to create, ratify a 1.0 school nurse position.
I will speak to this real quickly. We're one nurse short of being able to have an actual nurse at every school. And we actually provide nurse coverage at all of our schools because we have a rotating schedule there. So they're not there full-time 5 days a week. We have them at least 4 days a week at every school, and in most of our schools, 4.5 days. But, and so that's how we've been covering with, they've had a schedule. But with the recommendations and the portion that was in our plan for reopening our schools is to be able to have a nurse dedicated to each school. Concern there, two things. One, just the need for nursing, but second of all, when we look at the spread and exposure from school to school, if you have a nurse traveling from school to school, if a nurse is at one school, it makes that a much better environment and reduces that, mitigates that chance for spread from school to school. So So we're recommending that we add a nurse position for this year for that. That was on the list that I gave you last, I think at the last board meeting regarding kind of a budgeted item of our CARES funding and so forth. And this one is potentially FEMA reimbursable, so.
Is there a particular school that this nurse position will be assigned to?
I'm going to defer that. I have Ms. Barnes here, who is our new district health coordinator, our new lead nurse, and so I'm going to defer that question to her. She can tell you.
Well, she's coming up.
Didn't mean to catch you off guard.
Will this mean we have a full-time at every school?
This would mean we have at least, this would be at least 4.5 days, at least 4 days,
Yeah.
and at almost every one of them 4.5 days.
Yes.
All the
This
time.
one would be specific for Shannon Johnson. The past couple years, they've had to get a nurse that's been pulled, from the 4-day schools. So even if we pulled those this year, they would only have 3 days. So this will help out with the health department with contact tracing also on those extra days. And you all had mentioned earlier, I wanted to address this, about the students being able to reach the nurses. Last year when we did do the NTI, a lot of the nurses set up Google Classroom, so students could reach them for medical questions. So that was done a lot. We also had nurses that went to homes that actually administered insulin. So like the students that were staying with grandparents or aunts that didn't know how to take care of these diabetics. So we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, plus the immunizations that are very badly behind.
Will we be able to continue that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yes.
certainly. Yeah.
That will be on our agenda for these virtual students now. Yep. Thank you all.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
It has been a whirlwind, but it's good.
Can we put her on our agenda, like in an upcoming month, to give us a report back to what has happened during these virtual days?
Absolutely, we will.
Maybe a couple months, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Chance to get through immunization.
Yes. Okay. I need a motion to create and ratify a .10 school nurse position.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mrs. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brock.
Couldn't help it, she's
Just kidding.
Are there any opposition? I looked at you and said her name. All right, motion carries. And I didn't even notice. 5I, to approve revision to salary schedule for cooks.
All right, this is a minor change there to our salary schedule for cooks. As we went through all of our salary schedules, this was the one that did not have any type of salary increase based off of years of experience, and so we just added a couple minor bumps in there just to give them some appreciation for the years of service to our students. It's our recommendation. We did that. And of course, all of our cooks, chefs, bakers, all of that, those food service folks are paid for through our food service program. So no impact on the general fund.
This doesn't affect the general budget. This is,
It does not impact the general
as we
budget.
refer to Mr. Anderson's budget.
It just means he needs to make sure he gets more meals out the door.
That's
Yep.
what I like.
When we feed more kids,
Get more money.
we can get more funds to feed more kids. And as you all know, one of the, I say that, and I'm going to brag on Mr. Anderson for just a second. I mean, you all have heard it before, but I want to point out one very important thing. I mentioned that, our food service program is not a drain on our general fund. That is not the way it is everywhere, okay? In a lot of districts and for at different times in Madison County even. Part of it is, our community eligibility program does help with that because we get it makes us eligible for federal funding. But a big part of that also is Mr. Anderson reaches out and he coordinates food deliveries from food vendors and from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and so forth that are at a very, very, very low cost or at no cost to us. And then sometimes we take advantage of programs where food is donated to us. So if you're wondering how we can feed kids with a reimbursement rate of $1.75 a meal, it's because our food cost was very low or nothing at all on some of those things. So that's how that's done, and that's why we've been able to stay in the black in food service without draining our general fund, which keeps us at a very low administrative overhead for our district, so.
And I know so many appreciate that we buy Kentucky Proud products, meats and vegetables. And it's important.
I can remember back in my early days when we had a red numbers there. Constantly they were in the red, and so it has changed.
And I think our cooks are more than deserving of this.
Absolutely.
They have worked tirelessly. Mr. Anderson does
All
a
year
great
round.
job all the time.
And they put out excellent food, excellent food.
Do you ever give them a day off? Just kidding.
They've actually had a week off this year because we're starting back next week, so
Yeah.
they've had a whole week to rest.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, moving on. I need a motion to approve the revised salary schedule for cooks as presented.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Coyle, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries. 5J, adopt food service procurement document.
Okay, I'll hit this one real quickly, and if you all have any questions, he's there, and also Mr. Woods is there. I'll try to give you the very condensed version. We went through a food service procurement review, and one of the pieces that they wanted us to add was this document as part of our procedures. Everything in this document is already in our purchasing plan and our model procurement plan, but what they actually told us when they got through with the review is it would make our review easier if you had this document, and then we could just check off yes on everything. So it really doesn't change anything other than it's a piece of paper. If you all approve it, we put it in there, and the reviewers can check that off. And that was the state auditor's office, I think, that was doing that one. Yeah. Our food service department is under, of course, we're under the scrutiny of lots of different areas, but you have the U.S. Department of Agriculture, you have the National School Lunch Program, you have obviously all of their State Department finance people, and then also the Office of the Treasurer, all have opportunity to audit at different times and come in just on periodic reviews. So it feels like, he spends half the time feeding kids and the other half meeting with people, showing them where we're spending money. So that's just the way the process works. So this would make that one a little easier if you'll approve that document.
Okay.
That's it.
Then I need a motion to adopt the food service procurement document as presented.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Cobb. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Moving on to 5K, to approve the contract for the milk coolers.
Good evening. Our milk coolers are currently being provided by Borden Dairy. They've notified us that they will no longer be providing those to us. So we last month put a request for proposals out, and before you are the bids that we received. 3 different milk coolers going to pretty much almost every school in the district that will be getting a couple coolers. So, any questions?
I'm assuming, since we have 3 separate contracts, these are for 3 separate size coolers, so that we can easily set the milk in, get milk out, and so forth.
Correct. We set that request for proposals up that we could either buy them from all one company or give us the ability, and it was purchasing the least expensive one. 3 different milk coolers actually ended up being from 3 different companies. It saved us, it was just a little over $13,000 splitting that up as opposed to giving it to one company. So,
good job.
Nicely.
Any other questions? Then I need a motion to approve 3 contracts for milk coolers. 1 contract with Manning Brothers, 1 contract with Seaworth Superstore, and 1 contract with C&T Design.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. 5L on our agenda, to approve emergency reading of Title IX policies. Is Mr. Neely available? There he is.
He's asleep back there.
He's hiding. Well, we appreciate you standing, because we had so many parents and teachers
Oh,
here.
it's all
You were
good. Yes,
standing forever,
yes,
so.
yes.
Gave up your seat.
That's right, that's just what I do. As being the Title IX coordinator, United States Department of Education has published an extensive new regulatory amendment focusing on Title IX sexual harassment. The regulations set forth specific definitions and requirements covering the Title IX grievance process. And the Title IX grievance process is a cumbersome thing to do. So they have set new requirements for that. The regulation's effective Saturday, and that's a kind of a different date, but they have set forth that it goes into effect August 14th. In addition to the grieving process, the regulation requires new training, notices, and record keeping, among other requirements. So that is what I'm putting forth to you. That is what we'll be doing, is putting all that in action so that we can fulfill our obligation for our Title IX grievance starting Saturday.
Any questions?
Typically, that doesn't happen often. That's why Title IX is not, we get audited. Both our high schools are audited and have always come up with a clean audit with Title IX. So both principals and their staff and the athletic directors do a great job making sure that's on the up and up.
If there's no questions, then I need a motion to approve the emergency reading of policies 03.113, 03.1621, 03.212, 03.2621, 09.13, and 09.428111.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Quayle. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
Thank you. I'd like to add to the frisky piece that we were talking about earlier. If you know a frisky worker or a helper, this is what their main goal is. This is what they are supposed to do, is times like this, that's their charge. It's their calling, and our department all over the district have been working and will continue to work as hard as possible to make sure each and every kid is reached. We talk to them all the time. They are reaching out, and believe it or not, we still have entities that are reaching out to them that say, hey, I have clothes, I've got food, I've got this, and you would think times like this it would kind of dry up, but it's not. People are reaching out, and our frisky workers are continuing and will work as hard as they can.
And just so people know, Frisky, we're not talking about Frisky, these are our family resource directors.
Yeah, family resource directors, yes, yeah.
Because that was a new term for me,
Yeah.
that's why I said that.
Yeah.
I know, it's a crazy acronym.
So just to clear that up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. All right, next, the instruction, 5M, and we'll move into 5LA, the instruction report, equity in the classroom, with our speakers, Ms. Alicia Hunter, CAO, and Jeff McLean. Thank you for joining us. We apologize you're near the end.
Okay. We have spent tremendous time ensuring the physical safety of our students. We've talked a little bit tonight about their social, emotional well-being, but it's also very important for us that all of our students, each and every one of them, feels valued, respected, and that they have a voice in the classroom, whether that classroom is in person, that we all feel is best, we've established that, or virtually. And we have also spent time this summer working toward that. And I would like to introduce to you guys Mr. Jeff McLean, who has been a leader in taking steps toward that to make sure that that happens.
Good evening. My name is Jeff McLean, once again, and I am an educator at Madison Central High School. Given recent events that have taken place in our society as far as injustices, I felt the need to reach out to Dr. Gillum and Dr. Hunter about having some very difficult conversations and opening our ears, our hearts, and our minds, and being very intentional about how we move forward. Both Dr. Gillum and Dr. Hunter immediately responded and committed to identifying cultural diversity issues across our education community, and specifically in the classroom so that we could come up with plans and take meaningful action. We started by inviting a group of Madison County minority educators along with other minority stakeholders and community members to meet. This group of individuals got the opportunity to tell their stories and voice their concerns. That information provided us with a sense of direction as far as what areas to potentially address. From there, we created an action team made up of administrators, educators, and students. These meetings and conversations have been surrounded by the idea of how to best utilize, our resources to ensure that all of our students feel safe, valued, and respected. Through these conversations, we've discussed the importance of the following: implicit bias trainings, along with mindfulness and social emotional trainings. We've discussed the benefit of inventorying libraries and additional classroom resources to ensure different perspectives and voices are represented. The need for more successful minority speakers for assemblies when necessary and possible. The need to see more minority representation at each level and in each area in education here in Madison County. The need to create pathways and partnerships with local colleges and universities in order to grow and groom our own educators. The need to, and most importantly, the need for educators to be intentional about the culture of togetherness that we build to ensure equity in the classroom. As we are still in the beginning stages of conversation and planning, the action team has collectively created 25 questions promoting cultural diversity and inclusion. Last week, we shared those questions at a principals meeting and recommended that our principals use those questions with their faculty and staff as a way to self-evaluate and ignite healthy, necessary conversations. We also recommended that the teachers then modify the questions during their PLC time together so that they are student-friendly in order to facilitate conversations as a whole or in confidence, with students engage the climate of their classroom to ensure all students feel safe, respected, and valued. One thing that has been acknowledged over and over is that this is a marathon and not a sprint. We will continue to meet and have conversations about how to best utilize our resources to promote equity in the classroom and to make sure all of our babies have a legit opportunity at success. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not working exclusively with the high schools?
No, it's all.
Good, so are
this
we
is
going all the
over.
way even down in elementary?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
We met with, Jeff met with all groups of principals. We met with the high schools separately, then we met with the middle schools, and we met with elementary principals.
That's fantastic.
This
Thank
is
you all.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's
very
awesome.
much.
Thank you all. Moving down the agenda to 5N, construction. 5NA is our construction report with Speaker Tony Thomas. Welcome.
Thank you, and good evening. Beginning with the construction report, we'll talk about the project you just approved 9 days ago. So all we're doing is gathering the paperwork and getting that into the Kentucky Department of Education. As soon as they approve the unexecuted contracts and paperwork, we'll get that ball rolling and have a pre-construction meeting soon with the contractors. So all that is in process.
Right.
That's the construction report.
Okay. So with that being said, we move into 5NB to approve the change order for the Berea Bus Garage. This is a good thing.
Yes, a whole credit of $3.68.
Hey, we'll take it.
KDE requires us to close out the purchase orders on each job, and the only way to do that is through a credit change order. So I would recommend the board approve the credit change order to Eckert in the amount of $3.68 credit.
Any questions?
So move.
All right, perfect. The motion's been made to approve the change order credit to close out PO number 46898 for the Berea Bus Garage in the amount of $3.68 credit. All right, the motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor? Any opposition? No. Okay. Motion approved. Moving on to 5NC, to approve the BG4 closeout Berea Bus Garage.
Yes, now that you've approved that final change order, we can move into the paperwork to submit to the Kentucky Department of Education to close out the project. This form identifies how much you spent contractually on the project and how much it closed out for. So with that said, I would recommend approval of the BG4.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Cobb. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Coyle. The motion is to approve the BG4 closeout for the Berea Bus Garage. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Next page on the agenda, 5ND, to approve the BG1 for Clark Moore's Middle School addition and renovation.
The excitement continues in Madison
Yes.
County for the district.
We would expect none less.
That's right. That's right. In an effort for the district to continue improving their facilities, this BG1, of course, working with your administrators who initiated this, is in compliance with your district facility plan and includes, in the description, a new band room, a couple of classrooms, and renovation of the existing building, and a new conference room as well. So it's a combination addition renovation. The extent of the renovation is described in the facility plan, but that's something once you get into the project, we'll get into a little deeper and find out exactly what all those specifics will be, working with all your electrical, your mechanical, all the people in your maintenance staff. The construction estimate at this very preliminary stage is $4.9 million, and with all the soft costs associated, it gets you to a total BG1 of $5,760,000.
Where, and just for those who are watching and listening, where is this new addition going to be at Clark Moore?
Well, we've given that a little bit of study already, even though we're just at the BG1 level, and there's really only one place to put it, and that is the back southeast corner that goes where the baseball field and the softball, the athletic field back there is. It's really the only place to put a significant addition, and the property is tight back there, and it's a hill where the trailers are, where I should say, temporary classrooms, I should call them.
Yes.
They're used as storage now. So that's where the addition will go.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I need a motion to approve the BG1 for Clark Moore's Middle School addition and renovation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was at the same time, so I'm going to give it to Mrs. Cobb.
Okay.
The motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford, second by Mrs. Cobb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Okay, motion carries. When will all this start? I mean, I know we just voted, but is there an estimate, the date?
As soon as you hire an architect.
Okay. Okay, that's easy.
Didn't mean to be too humorous about it, but that's really up to you, as soon as you all want it to start.
Okay.
And this
I
is,
didn't know if you had plans already.
well, I might have had a few thoughts about what's going to happen there. So you tell Dr. Gillum how fast for me to go, and we'll see if we can keep up. How's that?
We need to wait to hear our approval from KDE.
Oh, yes, yes, of course, of course.
No pun intended. Moving on to 5NE, approve final plans in BG3 for the Berea CTC.
I'll start with the BG3. At design development, we had an estimate which broke out all your costs, including the estimated cost of the bid, all the soft costs, and the total cost. This is no different from what you saw at design development, with a estimated construction cost of $12,650,000, a total project cost of $14,452,550. I'll be glad to go over any specific numbers if somebody has a question on them, but other than that, I would recommend, and of course, this motion is going to be combined with the final plan approval. But before I start talking about the final plans, does anybody have a question about the BG3? Okay, well, I will move into the funnest part. The final plans for the CTC, of course, nothing has changed dramatically. There you can see just kind of a site picture Minnells Road on your left, Fairstown Industrial at the bottom, the blue being the roof and the parking lot around it. Well, that's sensitive. Just close in a little bit more, almost 300 parking spaces. You can see where we tap onto Minnells there with a curved road. I'm going to back up just one little bit here. Well, that's sensitive. You can see where we tap onto Minnells Road there and do a little curve and tie into just about where the bus garage is there. On the right, there's 2 lanes that tie into the entries that were already put there with the Fairstown Middle School. So you're right there on the corner, going a little bit closer. We talked about the parking there. Now zoom in on that. You can tell where the entry there, so there'll be some landscaping, flag poles, ADA spots, things of that nature. So that's this.
When you're standing between Fairstown and the new school, you'll be looking at the fronts of both schools.
Actually, you'd be looking at the sides.
Well, the
But
sides.
yes. But both are, schools are 360 degrees anymore in a sense. But on Fairstown, the front entry faces the industrial road, so technically this entrance will face it too. But both of them have pretty prominent facades that face each other into that large green area. So yes.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Okay,
You're
right.
kind of looking at the fronts of both of them.
Yes. Well, here, if you go back, well, gosh, that's sensitive. But yes, you can see there at the lower right, if you're standing where we connect into the lower right corner there, Fairstown is there, right to your right. Now we go to the plan. This is a sheet this is kind of boring from this distance, but this will be a sheet that's submitted to the Department of Education that shows the size, of your building. You see the little storage room over to the left. And as if we scoot in on it, you can see we've got the gym and storm shelter to the left, the entry to the right. If I zoom in on the entry, you can see where the little entry vestibule is. Of course, that'll be a security entrance. The reception just straight in front of that, being able to have an electronic lock so that we can lock and unlock people. As they go straight through to the corridor, those doors will be locked as well. To the left is the gym storm shelter where they would walk in there, and that would be storm shelter protected. There's a picture just a little bit closer to the gym. You can see about 250 bleacher seats, 6 goals, basketball, volleyball, serving area to the left. I'm going to zoom in on those even more later. Wow, got to be quick with that. The back of the other half of the building is 4 labs, which we'll look at those a little bit closer. That's the welding, the culinary, the diesel to the right, and engineering. Diesel to the left and engineering to the right, and of course classrooms, and right in the middle there, nice set of bathrooms. Sorry, little trigger finger here. This shows the mezzanines. So above the main corridor, you've got your equipment mezzanines. Above the diesel, welding, and industrial maintenance lab, you'll have storage mezzanines up above the classrooms with ladders to get up there, or stairs. There's a little serving area. The marketing on the right, we've talked about it before. You got a display up front, casework. They have an office and storage. There's some faculty restrooms there. There's the serving area. It's pretty much the same as we had at Richmond, with several food items there where you can either do a little cooking there on your own, or of course I've worked with Mr. Anderson on this as well as the concession area, or you can bring things in kind of like you do at church, and quickly heat things up. But there's also a pizza oven and ice cream, things of that nature. Diesel, okay, so we have fitted this with equipment, and this is the first time that you've seen this. We've seen the diesel lab, but not the equipment. We've had some discussions, and this is unlike the ATC in Richmond, because you have equipment coming from a place. Here, there's no equipment for the building anywhere. So we're having to put some equipment in the bids. So you'll have lifts and tire changers and balancers and place for engines to work on. There are 3 big open doors to the left. Probably just 2 of them will be pull in and out. The third one at the bottom will be the engine repair area, where they'll just probably bring engines in and out and let the kids work on them. So pretty exciting time there. You can see we've got some workshop tables set up, and there'll be drill presses and brake lathes, things of that nature. culinary, and this also, well, they've all been exciting, but this one's even more detailed, and yet another lab space that Madison County will be providing the equipment for. So there's a classroom you can see up front. It's kind of like you see on TV where they have chef shows where people are learning to cook, and it's more like a classroom. Up towards the top of the page, there's what we call more of a novice area, which is kind of on the right side, and then high culinary, which is on the left. I tried to zoom in on that a little bit more. You can see that really crowded area, kind of in the middle of the screen there, is full of equipment. Of course, again, Mr. Anderson, and of course we've already been invited to the first dinner cooked by Mrs. Newman. She likes to be Andrea, but she's
Can we come?
yeah.
Okay.
So, of course, she's been heavily involved. Now, here's where you do have somebody that already exists in a position at Madison Southern, and she's been involved with this for months, as well as Mr. Anderson. So we're really excited about this piece as well. The industrial maintenance is pretty much just a large open lab. There's a lot of electrical, a lot of air, stations and things of that nature. This is set up to be really just the most versatile lab that you'll have in the district, with a lot of electric outlets, a lot of air, and of course a classroom there. They all have offices, and like I've talked about at Richmond, all the big labs have a wash station, mop sink, emergency shower, water fountain, storage and maintenance, and their own restroom. You can see down at the bottom of the screen there, they have their own restroom. Health is just like Richmond. I mean, basically, it's almost an exact copy there. Now, this is one that we did manage to have. Okay, don't want to stay there. There we go, the rendering. You can see the beds in the background. They'll have their own little curtain cubicles that they'll pull closed, just like they're in an emergency room or something at the hospital. Nice big windows, computers set up out in the middle, TV on the left. We go to welding. We've talked about the welding. This is pretty much just like Richmond, except that Richmond had 80% of their equipment to move to the new facility. Berea doesn't. So there's a lot of equipment included in this welding layout. And again, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to come back to any one of these slides and discuss them in more detail. But 25 welding stations, hoist above, brake presses, just all kinds of equipment that would be typical in the shop. And the things that they have in the Richmond shop right now will be included in the Berea shop as well. Just another shot there of a rendering inside the welding lab.
We don't have the welding in Berea now, do we? We've got all new equipment for weld.
Not in Berea.
Right.
That's correct.
We have to do all new equipment for Berea.
Yes. Yes. Now, at this point, we haven't put every single little, we don't know what the welding instructor eventually will put in there, but we're going to put 25, we're going to get 25 if we got 25 welding stations, we're going to put 25 welders in there. But we're also going to include shears, brakes, some drill presses, things like that, so that, when the contractor walks away from it, you just don't have an empty shop. And that's something we've discussed several times. He wants it, shovel ready, as he said, so kids can walk in the door and there's something to do and there's equipment to work with. So the equipment cost would be a little bit more at the Berea job. Here's the bird's eye view, and we've kind of seen this before, but the parking, and this would be, again, Fairstown would be right on your right there. We're kind of hovering over Fairstown Industrial Road with Minilis in the background. You can see the road ties in. Got a heavy thumb tonight, Jeannie. Just a little bit closer, you can see the colors of the brick and the roof at this point are intended to match, the Fairstown facility right next to it. Of course, once we bid and get manufacturers and things of that nature, we'll be able to look at that again a little closer. There's just a little bit of closer view where you can see the gym storm shelter on the left, the entry and the nice big tall glass on the right for the lobby. That's that would be the culinary, engineering, and health side that faces that it looks like a front. So that's what you're facing if you're standing right between that's the kind of the bus loop there where they drop off the kids for the buses over on Fairstown. And this is an inside shot. looking towards the gym with the entry on the left and, of course, the display for the marketing on the right. This is kind of where we were just looking from, looking at the reception area and the display for the marketing back towards the corridor, and you can see Ferristown in the background there, so through the glass. So, and there's just another good rendering shot of the front of the building. So any questions on final plans or for the Berea Career Technology Center?
Beautiful.
Thanks. It's exciting.
When do we think we might be able to put this one out for bid?
Well, we probably have about a week or two of, with your approval, putting all the Department of Education information together, getting it in their hands. They are a big question mark in the answer to your question. It's taking them 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 weeks. We have it set up in our schedule so that we could go out to bid on October 1st, basically. Take bids on October 1st, which would be a week before your October meeting. But they made it pretty clear to us on this last project, they did not want the board to advertise the project for bid until we have received plan approval from them. Well, that's the big question mark. When will we receive plan approval from them? And that's why it's difficult if it asks. If they respond like that, we'll bid October 1st.
Any other questions? Then I need a motion to approve the final plans and BG3 for the Berea CTC.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Mr. Rutherford.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Moving on to 5O, Finance. Mr. Woods is going to come up and give our financial report.
Good evening.
Hello.
How are you all?
Good.
Tired.
You have to go to the restroom.
First of all, let me say thank you for what you do. It is very appreciated, and on behalf of all of us, we do appreciate all of your thought that you put into everything. We'll get started with the monthly financials. As of July 31st, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $40,529,240.94. You can see there from the reconciliation, we keep talking about it. We've got construction money that we're holding that because we got 2 projects that we haven't bonded out yet. Once we get those bonds in and get those projects underway, we will move money from those that we've set aside through BG1s and everything towards those, and then we'll start spending those down. So that is our big area. And food service, of course, we talked about it before, the summer feeding and all the feeding they did, their balance is up as compared to this time last year. Of the reconciled balance, the district has $5,740,990.65 in investments. Those rates are still 1% to 2%. We haven't added any. The rates aren't changing much. In fact, the market itself is down. So right now what we're doing is we're taking advantage of our overnight sweep in our checking account. We're earning around 1% in that. So it leaves our money really liquid in case we need it. We have 2 CDs out there, actually 3 local CDs out there, and that's they range from 1% to 2%. So we still have those out there, and that accounts for the total there. I did look at the average rate to make sure we're still competitive, because those did renew, came up for renewal on July the 29th, our local CDs, 2 of them did with Fork Bank. The state average right now for a 12-month CD is 0.45%. I have a 3-month CD at 1% and a 12-month at 2%, so we are doing really well compared to the state of Kentucky. National average is actually much lower than that. So I'm comfortable with leaving those there and letting them ride right now and relying on our overnight sweeps to keep us liquid right now. You also had a copy of the balance sheet and the revenue expense report for the month submitted to you. Any questions?
I appreciate the job you do
Thank you.
with these numbers.
Thank you very much.
There's a lot to it. And we appreciate you explaining to us when we have questions.
In layman's terms.
Yes, that we can understand.
You're very welcome. I always enjoy getting to speak with you. Anytime you have questions, you know where I'm at. I'm always upstairs here.
All right, any further questions? So 50B, approve the monthly financial reports. I need a motion to do that as presented.
So moved.
The motion's been made by Mrs. Coyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those not in favor? All right, motion carries. 50C, to approve the 2019-2020 Finance Annual Report. Mr. Wood.
So I'm actually going to switch to a PowerPoint here. You were provided a copy of the unaudited balance sheet and the revenue expense report in your early packet, so that's all the detail behind this. I find it a little more helpful to go through this in a PowerPoint and do some summary. You're welcome to ask me any questions on that. We'll go through it. I'll dig it out. I'll find it, whatever you need answered. So hopefully I don't have too heavy of a thumb here. Woo. Okay. So we'll start with general fund revenue for this past year, where we're at. As you can see there, local, that's our local dollars that we have, mostly tax money there. 43% of our general fund budget. State made up 54.91%. Federal was about 1.45%, and then we had some other just miscellaneous income, reimbursements, and other things. To give you a comparison where those are from last year, we actually increased our local percentage, and it went up 0.32%. Our state percentage of our general fund revenue went down. I think you will start to see that more and more over the next few years. We talk about it when we do budget that being one of the few growing communities, when you grow, the state pulls back dollars and they expect you to do more locally. Well, here's evidence of that our state number fell. Last year, we were 55.56% of our general fund revenue was state dollars, and this year it's only 54.91. So just a little more information to support what we explain to you when we do the budget. Moving on, and stop me at any time with any questions, please. Expenditures for fiscal year 20, I know this gets a little hard to see. Instruction makes up 58.72% of our general fund budget. So every dollar that we bring in and we spend out, we're putting 58.72% back into our kids, just direct instruction. There are other categories there that I would say support that as well. You have your student support services, another 6.54%. Instructional staff support services, another 4.38%. Our admin numbers in there, district admin support, 1.81%. School admin support is 4.73%. That would be your principals and their offices. Business support services, 1.92%. Plant and operations, 11.16% of our general fund budget. Student transportation accounts for 9.74%. And then we have some other just miscellaneous community expenditures, mostly frisky expenditures and other things that we cover out of general fund. So district admin support, we average keeping that below 2%. We're really good at that. Our school admin support, we average staying below the 6% range. And our business support services, mostly that would be HR, my department, we keep that below 2%. On average, and we are averaging over the past few years 58+% on instruction. I think that is a wonderful number to know that we are putting money back into our kids. We're not putting it into administration, we're putting it in directly into the kids.
I think so many people still think that.
Sure.
That may have been something in the past, and they think it's still like that. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Sure. No, the board has done an awesome job at directing, and the superintendent and administration have done an awesome job at directing and making sure that we are spending money on students. This next number is one that I still continue to be proud of. I know the number's up just a little bit this year. Our admin percentage, 12.42%. I would dare anybody to go out there into the open market and look at businesses that keep their admin rate that low. I've been in the business world before I came to schools. That is an awesome rate. That is a really awesome rate. Now, so it is up a little bit compared to last year. If you remember, the board chose to do salary increases last year. So that does account for a little bit of why it would creep up. In addition with that, COVID-19 hit. So what does that mean? Well, end of the year, we went to providing necessities. So we didn't have students in the buildings. We had a quarter of our year where we buy additional items because kids are in the buildings using them daily. We didn't have those expenditures. So when you start adding all those factors together, it will cause our admin percentage to creep up because that admin percentage is against instruction. It's 12.42% of what we spend on instruction. I pulled some numbers. I like to do this, and we've been in the top 3. We've stayed in the top 3. We're again in the top 3 in the state on this. I had to go all the way down to number 7 to find a district close to our size, and that's Laurel County. Their ADA for the FY19 is the most recent data you can pull. They were 8,000 students. In the same year, we were 10,005 ADA. Quite a bit bigger, but I had to go all the way down to number 7. The number 1 that made the list was Whitley County. They have 3,600 students. Grayson, 3,700 students. Then hits Madison. Lawrence at 2,095. Murray Independent, 1,500 students. Adair, 2,300, and then Laurel. We're doing an amazing job keeping our expenditures down and make sure that we are spending it on students and not spending it in overhead, especially compared to all the other districts in the state of our size. So we're doing a great job with that, and I'm really proud of this number. You can see the state average there for the year that we're looking at. The most recent data, FY19, 18.66%. We, in 19, we were at 11.78. This last year, we crept up a little bit to 12, but it's really good numbers. The next thing that I like to show you at the end of the year is how we come out with our salary and fringe as a percentage of our budget, 79.66%. So we're staying below that 80%. That's a good number to hang right in that area and keep it as low as possible. So still really good numbers. Oops, back up one. So our balance for the end of the year, we had a really good balance. Community growth, our Medicaid revenue was back up. Our USF reimbursements, we did get some Kisbit refunds, and management of our financial resources during a pandemic. Make sure that we weren't just spending money to spend money. We were spending it with a purpose to support student growth. And it all comes down to that, and great leadership by Dr. Gillum to make sure that we're on track and we're staying on track and everybody has a goal. Some of the things on the horizon that we need to be mindful of for the year that we're going into is continued impacts of COVID on our tax collections. Our tax collection rate fell this last year. We have averaged 97, 98% for 10 years. This last year, we dropped to 95.65%. I'm planning for that in our budgets, making contingency plans, thinking about things. But, you know, when people don't have jobs, what do? We have tax bills out there that we hope we collect, but we have to think about things like that. So we're making contingency plans for that, and hopefully we'll keep up in those mid-90s, but we'll see where this year takes us. Additional expenditures beyond what we've been funded. You know, we've gotten some help from the CARES funding and other things like that for COVID-19. So how will it impact our budget overall? What are we looking at long term? Classified retirement, we got a 1-year reprieve. I don't know that we'll get that again. And, you know, perpetually, that's a 12% increase. That's a pretty hefty increase to have to take every year in expenditures that you, off the top, you know, when you go in the next year, you got to be able to fund another 12%. And typically, that's $500,000 is what it typically equates to in our budget. Medicaid reimbursements. The reason I put this in here is I know they're expanding the Medicaid reimbursements, but will we still be able to bill for all the services we've been able to bill for over the past few years? Because right now we're going virtual. Are we still going to be able to provide the same services that we were able to bill for? So that'll be to be seen. I think so. I think they're prepared to go out and do whatever it takes to take care of kids, not just because of, hey, we can get money, but because their number one goal is to take care of kids. Continued reduction in state and federal funding, as always, and it's looking bleak. I mean, the state budget, you all see the numbers, you see the predictions. We got to be prepared for that, and as we prepare to move forward. Additional staffing needs, as always, with a growing district, we got to be able to fund that. So one of the things in talking about continued state funding, you caught on in there that I'm proposing with this that we raise our contingency fund. This last year we were at $6.384 million. With the money we've been able to manage wisely, I'm proposing that we take that up to $7.2 million. I looked at, I actually had Nina pull numbers for me today while I was out, at our typical monthly payroll. That our typical monthly payroll is about $5.4 million. So that'll cover us for about one and a quarter months, is what that contingency would do. Now we do have a few other pots of money in there that if we need to repurpose, the board could vote to repurpose but we have really good cash flow. We're very, very financially sound across the district, and we're looking 2 and 3 years down the road right now. Any questions on the financial report?
All right, no.
That good, huh?
That good.
Got them all choked up.
Okay. Then I need a motion to approve the 2019-2020 annual financial report, including the following. Committed for sick leave payable $336,391.04. Committed for future construction, $3,540,000. Committed other dollars. Capital projects, $6,384,875.66. Energy conservation, $50,000. Security technology upgrades, $100,000. Buses, $1,200,000. Future salaries, $1,501,000. Site-based carry forward, $847,330.05. District activity fund balance restriction for school carry forward, $505,000 let me rephrase that, $355,087. Did I say that all correctly, Jeannie? She was counting with me, every one of them. Okay. I need a motion for all of that.
So moved.
Second.
It is utter importance that I get all those numbers correct for you, Mr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do we have a second? You? All right, the motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
And
All
thank
right.
your crew for us.
I will. I have a very, very dedicated crew
You
that
do.
has not missed a beat during all of this, and we make sure we get everybody paid.
And he's putting Nina in the corner back there.
Hey,
He's hiding.
I would not know
Nobody backs
what
Nina
to
in
do
the
without
corner.
her, so
All right.
thank you all.
Hopefully everybody knows that's a joke from the movie.
Oh, I know.
Okay, hopefully everybody knows that. I'm not
absolutely.
being
Most
silly.
of us do, yeah.
It's getting late. We all have to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
5P, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Gillum.
All right, good evening. It is getting late. We've been here quite a while. I would just simply say that I just want to say how much I appreciate all the comments from our community tonight, and as well from those that we have received from over the last week or so from folks out there, just so supportive of our district and so supportive of just our people, and as well just indicating how important the work that we do is to our families and to our kids. And I think if we leave here with nothing else, I think we leave here with an additional resolve, a stronger resolve to make sure that we're doing great things for kids. And I appreciate so much the people that work in this district and that I have the opportunity to lead. And I just thank them for that opportunity. That's my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Moving on to item on the agenda number 6, comments from the board. Do we have any more comments?
I would just say that I think we need to really appreciate the staff up here at Central Office that has literally went this week from a 3-step process, or 3 choices, to basically the whole district going virtual in just a matter of a few days. I know Ms. Hunter's put in a lot of work, and I know her team has worked effortlessly to try to get ready for this, and I applaud them and I thank them for the hard work that they've done throughout this time to get prepared for this and try to make it as seamless as possible.
I just want to ask our community to just please be in prayer for our teachers as they're going back this week and trying to wrap their arms around all of this, for our families who have to wrap their arms around all of this, and just for our state and our nation, for what is going on, to try to get us to a point where we can see an end in sight. And I think our teachers and our community, we have a strong resolve. I think a great deal of prayer would be very appreciated.
Any other comments? Okay. Number 7, public comments. No? Okay. Moving on to number 8, to adjourn. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
The motion's been made. No, you're not allowed, Randy. The motion's been made by Mrs. Brock, second by Mr. Rutherford. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition?
You gotta go.
All right, motion carries. Jeannie, I'll be back.
Yeah, me too. You guys died.
See? They all made fun of me last week. That's right. That's right.
Good.
I'm glad to see you show up there, Mr. Neely. I've been by your office twice this week. You wasn't in it. So I'm glad to see you finally show up to work.